Are we live? We are live. Excellent. We've made it. We're live. Apologies for starting just a few moments late. This has been a very busy play and we've had some internet hiccups around the world. So it's just taken us a little longer to get ourselves together for this afternoon. So our apologies for that. But this is going to be a great afternoon. I absolutely guarantee it. This is Henry V from Q's Only. Who has ever done this before on Zoom? I don't think anybody has. So whatever happens, we're going to do the best one ever. Okay, so I'm going to say a quick hello to all our lovely company for this afternoon, and then we will let them go and get themselves together. So we have joining us from Germany, we have the lovely Tamara, who is back as Scroop and various other characters today. There's going to be a bit of this. It's Henry V. There's a lot of inning and outing. We have Siegfried, who has joined us from Paris, who is also going to be chorusing and a few other things. And Valentina, who is currently taking on being a bishop, which is very confusing for most of us, including her. So that's good fun. And Jenny, the wonderful one, Jenny Kovarak has joined us from way down in the West Country. So it's lovely to see you, Jenny. We're not at all jealous. We did a text session, Jenny and I, and she was on her boat in the River Fowl. I'm just like, what do you do with that? It's amazing. And Matt is back without the padding this week. Matt's lost some weight, so it's lovely to have Matt back. And Eugenia, who's looking terrifyingly calm and composed in her goth maker. Lovely to have you. And Angela is with us again down in Devon. Absolutely fantastic. And Stan the dog may involuntarily appear again. He's been around for the rehearsal. Who knows? We also have Fergus, who is looking very trim and very smart, ready to be Duke Humphrey and various others. And Simon Vulcan is back with us as Westmoreland and a few others. Larissa is reprising as the boy and a few others. Lovely to have you back. And Linda is with us being Exeter, which is terrific to see. Dewi is not just Llewellyn, he's a few other people as well. There's going to be a lot of doubling. You're going to have to hang with us today. One, it's quite a big cast, and two, we've lost a couple of people at short notice because life happens. So it's going to be interesting. Ian is with us as Pistol, which is fabulous, the final outing for some of these characters. And of course, Geraldine is back as Mistress Quickly. We would not be without our Quickly. And we've got Alec back to take Prince Hal onward into Kinging as King Henry. It's fabulous to see you. And Jeffrey, I can't see him, but I know he's there. Jeffrey Cohen is there. We are. Jeffrey is back with us after a bit of a break, and it's absolutely fabulous to have him back in the plays company. I can't talk. That's a bad start. And Alexandra's hiding, but I know she's there. Alexandra's been very, very busy this morning. She's there preparing to be the Bishop of Canterbury. So all of you wonderful people, go get a drink of water. I will set the scene and we will be starting imminently. Ping, 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 ping. Off they go. It's always fun. The screen changes. So thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon for the final part of the first stage of our journey through the histories of Shakespeare. So if you've been with us since February, we started with Richard II. We went through both the Henry IVs. We've taken a little journey into Merry Wives of Windsor to follow the Falstaff story. And now we're going to Henry V. So we're going to go and do Battle with the French, which is going to be fun. So that's what we're doing today. If you don't know who we are or what we're doing and you've just turned up on spec, hello, my name's Lizzie. I am Artistic Director for Shakespeare. My apologies if you've heard this before, but I got to say it every time. We are the only currently UK-based company who are both working and performing and teaching Shakespeare by using the method of cue-based performance. This means that everybody you've just seen on screen are going to be performing for you this afternoon. Henry V, we're going to do the whole play. We've got fights, we've got leaks, we've got everything. But they have not rehearsed together. They have not read the whole play. They have only seen their lines and their immediate cues. So why do we do it like that? Because that's how they did it in Shakespeare's time. And a lot of people think it isn't possible. And we're sort of embarked on this extended project of going, yes, it is. It is definitely possible, and it absolutely does work. We end up with some interesting moments, some of them deliberate, some of them not so deliberate. But that's just the way it goes. And that was also the way it goes in Shakespeare. It's very, very it's very real, it's very human, it's very live, it's a little bit rough. but it's always interesting. So, quick check of my notes. What else have I got to talk about? Yes, our donations link, as ever, is there on our YouTube page. If you are able to drop a few pennies in our hat, then they will be very, very gratefully received. We collect all the money together into a pot, which is periodically shared between members of the company, and a proportion also goes to charity, to Blueprint for All, which used to be the Stephen Lawrence Foundation, because that's a cause that we very passionately believe in. So if you are able to, we are still all here working for nothing, but basically we are, yes, we enjoy it. If you're able to, then it's very gratefully received. If not, then please enjoy yourself anyway. You are most extremely welcome. Little extra special welcome if there happen to be out there any of my current students at Drama Studio London. Hello, thank you for tuning in. Well done. I've been teaching a course at Drama Studio in this particular technique. And so hopefully some of the guys are watching to sort of see what happens when people who are supposed to know how it works actually do it. So let's see. Right, do we have anything else I've got to say? No, right. So Henry V. If you were paying attention during if you've seen any of the previous episodes of this story that we've done, you will know that the story began with the reign of King Richard II. And he was deposed by Henry Bolingbroke, who became King Henry IV. And the problem with that was that, I mean, the feeling was that Richard II was not being a good king. He was not doing a good job as king, even though, under the beliefs of the time, he was the anointed of God and therefore the only one with the right to be king. Henry Bolingbroke felt that he had just as good a right and that he would do a better job, basically. That's really oversimplifying, but so he was involved in removing Richard from the throne, so Richard was deposed. We then saw Henry in part 2 of his story suffering greatly in body and mind and conscience for removing the anointed sovereign from the throne. But even though he did it with the best of intentions, he then dies, passes the crown to his son Hal, who is now Henry V. But Hal has a certain amount to prove as well. One, he's got to deal with his father's sort of legacy of guilt, but also we've spent 2 plays watching him misbehave with the extremely enjoyable Falstaff, who was a rogue and a thief and a drunkard and all sorts of other things, and Pistol and Bardolph and Nym and Mistress Quickly and the boy Robin the Page, all the people who've been sort of living and working around him at the inn out in East Cheap and followed him out to Windsor and all these sorts of things. So Hal, who is now King Henry, has quite a lot to prove to himself, to his court, and to the rest of the world, which is pretty much about where we start. So I am just going to check. We should have ready to go our chorus, who is going to, because this is quite unique in Shakespeare in that we have a storyteller who is basically going to do a better job than I just did of putting the story together and cementing things together. So, chorus, are you ready to take us into the tale?
Yes.
Excellent. So, the rules remain the same. When I vanish, then the stage is taken over by the actors to tell you the story. I will pop up. We have 2 intervals, so you'll see me again at the intervals. If anything untoward happens with anybody's internet, then you may hear me speak up and give a line, or if anything else goes down, then you may even see me. So that hopefully you will only see me at the intervals, but otherwise this is my job as the book holder, is I just make sure that everything keeps running. So fingers crossed, we're going to have a great first half. So chorus, when I go, the stage is yours. Take us into the world of Henry V. Let's have fun. See you there.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage, princes to acts, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then shall the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, listing like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon, gentles all, the flat and razed spirit that has dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty field of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very cask that did defray the air at Agincourt? Now pardon, since a crooked figure may attest in little place a million, and let us, ciphers to this great account, on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined two mighty monarchies, whose high upbraided and abutting front the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfection with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man, and make imaginary puissance. Think, when we talk of horses, that you see them printing their proud hoofs in the receiving earth, for 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping all times, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply admit me chorus of this history, who, prologue-like, your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
My lord, I'll tell you. That self-bill is urged, which in the 11th year of our last king's reign was like, and had indeed against us passed, but that the scambling and unquiet time did push it out of farther question.
But how, my lord, shall we resist it now?
It must be thought on. If it pass against us, we lose the better half of our possession, for all the temporal lands which men devout by testament have given to the church, would they strip from us, being valued thus as much as would maintain to the king's honour full 15 earls and 1,500 knights, 6,200 good esquires, and to relief of Lazars and weak age of indigent fair souls past corporal toil, 100 almshouses, right well supplied, and to the coffers of the king besides, £1,000 by the year. Thus runs the bill.
These would drink deep.
It would drink the cup and all.
But what prevention?
The king is full of grace and fair regard.
And a true lover of the Holy Church.
The courses of his youth promised it not. The breath no sooner left his father's body, but that his wildness, mortified in him, seemed to die too. Yea, at that very moment, consideration, like an angel, came and whipped the offending Adam out of him, leaving his body as a paradise to envelop and contain celestial spirits. Oh, never was such a sudden scholar made. Never came reformation in a flood with such a heady current scouring faults, nor never hydra-headed wilfulness so soon did lose his seat, and all at once, as in this king.
We are blessed in the change.
Hear him reason but in divinity, and all admiring with an inward wish you would desire the king were made a prelate. Hear him debate over commonwealth affairs, you would say it hath been all his study. List his discourse of wars, and you shall hear a fearful battle rendered you in music. Turn him to any cause of policy, the Gordian knot of it he will unloose, familiar as his garter, that when he speaks, the air, a chartered libertine, is still, and the mute wonder lurketh in men's ears to steal his sweet and honeyed sentences, so that the art and the practic part of life, which is a wonder how his grace should glean it, since his addiction was to causes vain, his companies unlettered, rude, and shallow, his hours filled up with riots, banquets, sports, and never noted in him any study, any retirement, any sequestration from open haunts and popularity.
Strawberry grows underneath the nettle, and wholesome berries thrive and ripen best neighboured by fruit of baser quality. So the prince obscured his contemplation under the veil of wildness, which no doubt grew like the summer grass, fastest by the night, unseen yet crescive in his faculty.
It must be so, for miracles ceased, and therefore we must needs admit the means how things are perfected.
But, my good lord, how now for more mitigation of this bill urged by the Commons? Hath His Majesty inclined to it or no?
He seems indifferent, or rather swaying more upon our part than cherishing the exhibitors against us. For I have made an offer to His Majesty upon our spiritual convocation, and in regard of causes now in hand, which I have opened to His Grace at large, as touching France, to give a greater sum than ever at one time the clergy did to any of his predecessors.
Part with all.
I say, ever to give a greater sum than ever at one time the clergy yet did to his predecessors, part withal.
How did this offer seem received, my lord?
With good acceptance of His Majesty, save that there was not time enough to hear, as I perceived his Grace would fain have done, the severals and unhidden passages of his true titles to some certain dukedoms, and generally to the crown and seat of France, derived from Edward, his great-grandfather.
What was the impediment that broke these off?
The French ambassador, upon that instant, craved audience, and the hour, I think, is come to give him hearing. Is it 4 o'clock?
Oh, it is.
Then go we in to know his embassy, which I could with a ready guess declare before the Frenchman spake a word of it.
I'll wait upon you, and I long to hear it.
Where is my gracious Lord of Canterbury?
Not here in presence.
Send for him, good uncle.
Shall we call in the ambassador, my liege?
Not yet, my cousin. We would be resolved, before we hear him of some things of weight, and ask our thoughts concerning us and France.
God and his angels guard your sacred throne and make you long become it.
Sure, we thank you. My learned lord, we pray you to proceed, and justly and religiously unfold why the law say like that they have in France, or should not bar us in our claim. And God forbid, my dear and faithful lord, that you should fashion, rest, or bow your reading, or nicely charge your understanding soul with opening titles, miscreate whose right suits not in native colours with the truth, for God doth know how many now in health shall drop their blood in approbation of what your reverence shall incite us to. Therefore, take heed how you impawn our person, how you awake our sleeping sword of war. We charge you in the name of God, take heed. For never two such kingdoms did contend without much fall of blood, whose guiltless drops are every one a woe, a sore complaint gainst him whose wrongs give edge unto our swords, that makes such waste in brief mortality. Under this conjuration, speak, my lord, for we will hear, note, and believe in heart that what you speak is in our conscience washed, as pure as sin with baptism.
Then hear me, gracious sovereign, and you, peers, that owe yourselves, your lives, and services to this imperial throne. There is no bar to make against your highness' claim to France, but this, which they produce from Paramond in terram salicam mulieres ne succedant. No woman shall succeed in Salic land. Which Salic land, the French unjustly glows to be the realm of France, and Pharamond, the founder of this law and female bar. Yet their own authors faithfully affirm that the land Salic is in Germany, between the floods of Sola and of Elbe, where Charles the Great, having subdued the Saxons, there left behind and settled certain French, who, holding in disdain the German women for some dishonest manners of their life, established then this law, to wit, no female shall be inheritrix in Salic land. Salic, as I said, twixt Elbe and Sala, is this day in Germany. Yeah, called Meissen. And doth it well appear the Salic law was not devised for the realm of France, nor did the French possess the Salic land until 420 years after the defunction of King Pharamond, who died within the year of our redemption, 426, and Charles the Great subdued the Saxons and did seat the French beyond the river Sela in the year 805. Well, besides, their authors say King Pepin, which deposed Childeric, did as heir general, being descended of Blithild, which was daughter to King Clotaire, make claim and title to the crown of France. Capet, also, who usurped the crown of Charles, the Duke of Lorraine, sole heir male of the true line and stock of Charles the Great, to find his title with some shows of truth, though in pure truth it was corrupt and naught, conveyed himself as the heir to the Lady Linga, daughter to Charlemagne, who was the son of Louis the Emperor, and Louis the son to Charles the Great. Also, King Louis the 10th, who was sole heir to the usurper Capet, could not keep quiet in his conscience wearing the crown of France till satisfied that fair Queen Isabel, his grandmother, was lineal of the Lady Ermengarde, daughter to Charles, the aforesaid Duke of Lorraine, by the which marriage the line of Charles the Great was reunited to the crown of France, so that, as clear as is the summer sun, King Pepin's title and Hugh Capet's claim, King Louis, his satisfaction, all appear to hold in right and title of the female. So do the kings of France unto this day. Howbeit, they would hold up this Salic law to bar your highness claiming from the female, and rather choose to hide them in a net, then amply to unbar their crooked titles usurped from you and your progenitors.
May I, with right and conscience, make this claim?
The sin upon my head, dread sovereign, for in the book of Numbers it is writ, when the man dies, let the inheritance descend unto the daughter. Gracious Lord, stand for your own. Unwind your bloody flag. Look back into your mighty ancestors. Go, my dread lord, to your great-grandsire's tomb, from whom you claim, whose warlike spirit, and your great-uncle's, Edward the Black Prince, who on the French ground played a tragedy, making defeat of the full power of France, whilst his most mighty father on a hill stood smiling to behold his lion's whelp forage in blood of French nobility. Oh, noble English that could entertain with half their forces the full pride of France, and let another half stand laughing by, all out of work and cold for action.
Awake remembrance of this valiant deed, and with your puissant arm renew their feet. You are their heir, you sit upon their throne. The blood and courage that renowned them runs in your vein, and my thrice puissant liege is in the very maimon of his youth, ripe for exploits and mighty enterprises.
Your brother kings and monarchs of the earth do all expect that you should rouse yourself, as did the former lions of your blood.
They know that your grace hath cause and means and might, so hath your highness. Never, King of England, had nobles richer and more loyal subjects, whose hearts left their bodies here in England and lie pavilioned in the fields of France.
Oh, let their bodies follow, my dear liege, with bloods and swords and fire to win your right, in aid whereof we of the spirituality will raise your highness such a mighty sum as never did the clergy at one time bring in to any of your ancestors.
Not only arm we invade the French, but lay down our proportions to defend against the Scot, who will make road upon us with all advantages.
The day of those marches, gracious sovereign, shall be a wall sufficient to defend our inland from the pilfering borderers.
We do not mean the coursing snatchers only, but fear the main intendment of the Scot, who hath been still a giddy neighbour to us. For you shall read that my great-grandfather never went with his forces into France, but that the Scot unto his unfurnished kingdom came pouring like the tide into a breach, with ample and brim fullness of his force, galling the gleaned land with hot sighs, girding with grievous siege castle and town, that England, being empty of defence, hath shook and trembled at all the ill neighbourhood.
She hath been more feared than harmed, my liege. For hear her but exampled by herself, when all her chivalry hath been in France, and she a mourning widow of her nobles, she hath herself not only well defended, but taken and impounded as a stray the King of Scots, whom she did send to France, to fill King Edward's fame with prisoner kings, and make their chronicles rich with praise, as is the ocean bottom of the sea with sunken wrack and sunless treasures.
But there's a saying very old and true, if that you will France win, then with Scotland first begin. For once the eagle, England, being prey to the unguarded nest, the weasel, Scot, comes sneaking, and so suck o'er her princely eggs, playing the mouse in absence of the cat, to tame and havoc more than she can eat.
It follows, then, the cat must stay at home, yet that is but a crushed necessity, since we have locks to safeguard necessaries, and pretty traps to catch the pretty thieves, while that the armed hand doth fight abroad, the advised head defends itself at home. For governments, though high and lower, put into parts, doth keep in one consent, congreeing in a full and natural close, like music.
Therefore doth heaven divide the state of man in diverse functions, setting endeavour in continual motion, to which is fixed as an aim or but obedience. For so work the honeybees, creatures that by a rule in nature teach the act of order to a peopled kingdom. They have a king, and officers of sorts, where some, like magistrates, correct at home, others, like merchants, vent a trade abroad. Others, like soldiers armed in their stings, make boot upon the summer's velvet buds, which pillaged, they with merry march bring home to the tent royal of their emperor, who, busied in his majesty's surveys, the singing masons building roofs of gold, the civil citizens kneading up the honey, the poor mechanic porters crowding in their heavy burthens at his narrow gate, the sad-eyed justice with his surly hum, delivering o'er to executors pale the lazy, yawning drone. I this infer, that many things, having full reference to one consent, may work contrariously, as many arrows lucid several ways come to one mark, as many ways meet in one town, as many fresh streams meet in one salt sea, as many lines close in the dial centre, so many 1,000 actions once afoot, and in one purpose, and be all well borne without defeat. Therefore, to France, my liege! Divide your happy England into 4, whereof take you 1 quarter into France, and you withal shall make all galleons shake. If we with thrice such powers left at home cannot defend our own doors from the dog, let us be worried, and our nation lose the name of hardiness and policy.
In the messengers sent from the Dolphin. Now are we well resolved, and by God's help and yours, the noble sinews of our power, France being ours, will bend it in our oar, or break it all to pieces. Or there will sit, ruling in large and ample empery, o'er France and her almost kingly dukedoms, or lay these bones in an unworthy urn, tombless, with no remembrance over them. Either our history shall with full mouth speak freely of our acts, or else our grave, like Turkish mute, shall have a tongueless mouth not worshipped with a waxen epitaph. Now we are well prepared to know the pleasure of our fair cousin Dauphin, for here your greeting is from him, not from the king.
May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge, or shall we sparingly show you far off our Dauphin's meaning and our embassy?
We are no tyrant, but a Christian king, unto whose grace our passion is of subject, as is our wretches fettered in our prisons. Therefore, with frank and with uncurbed plainness, tell us the Dolphin's mind.
This then, in view, your highness ascending lately into France to claim some certain dukedoms in the right of your great grandfather, King Edward III, in answer of which claim the prince, our master, says that you savour too much of your youth, and bids you be advised there's naught in France that can be with a nimble galliard one. You cannot revel into dukedoms there. He therefore sends you meter for your spirit ton of treasure. And in lieu of this, desires you let the dukedoms that you claim hear no more of you. This the Dauphin speakers.
What treasure, uncle?
Tennis balls, my liege.
We are glad the Dolphin is so pleasant with us. His present and your pains we thank you for. When we have matched our rackets to these balls, we will in France, by God's grace, play a set. I'll strike his father's crown into the hazard. Tell him he hath made a match with such a wrangler that all the courts of France will be disturbed with chases, and we understand him well. How he comes o'er us with wilder days, not measuring what use we made of them. We never valued this poor seat of England, and therefore living hence, did give ourselves to barbarous license, as 'tis ever common, that men are merriest when they are from home. But tell the Dauphin, I will keep my state, be like a king, and show my sail of greatness when I do rouse me in my throne of France. For that I have laid by my majesty and plodded like a man for working days, but I will rise there with so full a glory that I will dazzle all the eyes of France. Yea, strike the dolphin blind to look on us, and tell the pleasant prince this mock of his hath turned his balls to gunstones, and his soul shall stand sore charged for the wasteful vengeance that shall fly with him. For many 1,000 widows shall this mock out of their dear husbands, mock mothers from their sons, mock castles down, and some are yet unforgotten and unborn, that shall have cause to curse the dolphin's scorn. But this lies all within the will of God, to whom I do appeal, and in whose name tell you, the Dauphin, I am coming on, to venge me as I may, and to put forth my rightful hand in a well-hallowed cause. So, get you hence in peace, and tell the Dauphin his jest will savour but of shallow wit, when thousands weep more than did laugh at it. Convey them safe of conduct. Fare you well.
This was a merry message.
We hope to make the sender blush at it. Therefore, my lords, omit no happy hour that may give furnace to our expedition. For we have now no thought in us but France, save those to God that run before our business. Therefore, let our proportions for these wars be soon collected, and all things thought upon that may with reasonable swiftness add more feathers to our wings. For God's before, we'll chide this Dauphin at his father's door. Therefore, let every man now task his thought, that this fair action on foot may be fought.
Enter Nym and Bardolph.
Well met, Corporal Nym.
Good morrow, Lieutenant Bardolph.
Ah, what, are Ancient Pistol and you friends yet?
Oh, for my part, I care not. I say little, but when time shall serve, there shall be smiles. But that shall be as it may. I dare not fight, but I will not wink and hold out my iron. 'Tis a simple one, but what though? It will toast cheese, and it will endure cold as another man's sword will, and there's an end.
I will bestow a breakfast to make you friends, and we'll be all the three sworn brothers to France. Let's be so good, Corporal Nym.
Faith, I will live so long as I may. There's a certain of it, and when I cannot live any longer, I will do as I may. That is my rest, that is the rendezvous of it.
It is certain, Corporal, that he is married to Nell Quickly, and certainly she did you wrong, for you were troth plight to her.
I cannot tell. Things must be as they may. Men may sleep, and they may have their throats about them at that time, and some say knives have edges. It must be as it may, though Patience be a tired name, yet she will plod. There must be conclusions. Well, I cannot tell.
Here comes Ancient Pistol and his wife. Good Corporal, be patient here. How now, mine host, Pistol?
Base tank. Calls thou me host? Now, by this hand, I swear I scorn the term, nor shall my Nell keep lodgers.
No, by my troth, but not long, for we cannot lodge and board 12 or 14 gentlewomen that live honestly by the prick of the needles, but it will be thought we keep a bawdy house straight. Oh, well a day, lady, if it be not you now, we shall see wilful adultery and murder committed.
Good lieutenant, good corporal, offer nothing here.
Pish.
Pish for thee, island dog, thou prick-eared cur of Ireland.
Oh, good corporal Nym, show thy valour and put up your sword.
Will you shog off? I would have your solus.
Solus, egregious dog. Oh, viper vile. The solus in thy most marvellous face, the solus in thy teeth, and in thy throat, and in thy hateful lungs, yea, in thy morpody, and which is worse, within thy nasty mouth. I do retort thy solus in thy bowels, for I can take. Pistols cock is up, and flashing fire will follow.
I am not Barbason, you cannot conjure me. I have a humour to knock you indifferently well. If you grow foul with me, Pistol, I will scour you with my rapier, as I may, in fair terms. If you would walk off, I would prick your guts a little in good terms, as I may, and that's the humour of it.
Oh, braggart vile and damned furious wight. The grave doth gape, and doting death is near, therefore exhale.
Hear me what I say. He that strikes the first stroke, I'll run him up to the hilt, as I am a soldier.
Well, an oath of mickle might, and fury shall abate. Give thee thy fist, thy forefoot to me give. Thy spirits are most tall.
I will cut thy throat one time or other in fair terms. That is the humour of it.
Poplar gorge, that is the word. Ha, I defy thee again. O hound of Crete, think'st thou my spouse to get? No, to the spittle go, and from the powdering tub of infamy fetch forth the laser kite of Cressid's kind, dull tear sheet, she by name, and her espouse. I have, and I will hold the quondam quickly for the only she, and Pauker, there's enough to go to.
Mine host Pistol, you must come to my master and your hostess. He is very sick and would to bed. Good Bardolph, put thy face between his sheets and do the office of a warming pan. Face is very ill.
Away, you rogue.
By my troth, he'll yield the crow a pudding one of these days. The king has killed his heart. Oh, good husband, come home presently.
Come, I shall make you two friends. We must to France. Why, the devil should we keep knives to cut one another's throats?
Let floods o'erswell, and fiends for food howl on.
You'll pay me the 8 shillings I won of you at betting?
Grace is the slave that pays.
Oh, that now I will have it. That's the humour of it.
Oh, was that the quick? You come of women coming quickly to Sir John. A poor heart, he is so shaked of a burning quotage and tertian that it is most lamentable to behold. Sweet men, come to him.
King hath run bad humours. Nym, jump forward. The king hath run bad humours on the night. That's the even of it.
Oh.
Thou hast spoke the right. His heart is fracted and corroborate.
The king is a good king, but he must be as he may. He passes some humours and careers.
Let us condole. Let us condole the night for lambkins. We will live. Exeunt omnes. Enter chorus.
Now, all the youth of England are on fire, and silken dalliance in their wardrobe lies Now thrive the armorers, and honor thoughts reign solely in the breast of every man. They sell the pasture now to buy the horse, following the mirrors of all Christian kings with winged heels as English Mercuries. For now sits expectation in the air, and hides a sword from hilts unto the points, with crowned imperial crowns and coronets promised to Harry and his followers. The French, advised by good intelligence of this most dreadful preparation, shake in their fear, and with pale policy seek to divert the English purposes. O England, model to thy inward greatness, like little body with a mighty heart. What might thou do, that honour would thee do, were all thy children kind and natural? But see, thy fault France hath in thee found out, a nest of hollow bosoms, which she fills with treacherous crowns, and 3 corrupted men. One, Richard, Earl of Cambridge, and the second, Henry, Lord Scroop of Masham, and the third, Sir Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland, have, for the guilt of France, oh, guilt indeed, confirmed conspiracy with fearful France. And by their hands this grace of kings must die, if hell and treason hold their promises, ere it take ship of France, and in Southampton. Linger your patience on, and we'll digest the abuse of distance. Force a play. The sum is paid. The traitors are agreed. The king is set from London, and the scene is now transported gentle to Southampton. There is the playhouse now. There must you sit, and thence to France shall we convey you safe, and bring you back, charming the narrow seas, to give you gentle pass. For if we may, we'll not offend one stomach with our play. But till the king come forth, and not till then, unto Southampton do we shift our scene.
For God, his grace is bold to trust these traitors.
They shall be apprehended by and by.
They shall be apprehended by and by.
How smooth and even they do bear themselves, as if allegiance in their bosoms sat, crowned with faith and constant loyalty.
The king hath know of all that they intend, by interception which they dream not of.
Nay, but the man that was his bedfellow, whom he hath dulled and cloyed with gracious favours, that he should for a foreign purse so sell his sovereign's life to death and treachery.
It's the wind fair, and we will abroad. My lord of Cambridge, and my kind lord of Marsham, and you, my gentle knight, give me your thoughts. Think you not the powers we bear with us will cut their passage through the force of France, doing the execution and the act for which we have in head assembled them?
No doubt, my liege, if each man do his best.
I do not doubt that, since we are well persuaded, we carry not a heart with us from hence that grows not in a fair consent with ours, nor leave not one behind that doth not wish success and conquest to attend on us.
Never was monarch better feared and loved than is your majesty. There's not, I think, a subject that sits in heart grief and uneasiness under the sweet shade of your government.
True, those that were your father's enemies have steeped their galls in honey and do serve you with heart's creative duty and of zeal.
We therefore have great cause of thankfulness, and shall forget the office of our hand sooner than quittance of desert and merit, according to the weight and worthiness.
So service shall with steeled sinews toil, and labour shall refresh itself with hope to do your grace incessant services.
We judge no less. Uncle of Exeter, enlarge the man committed yesterday that riled against our person. We consider it was an excess of wine that set him on, and on his more advice, we pardon him.
That's mercy, but too much security. Let him be punished, sovereign, lest example breed by his sufferance more of such a kind.
Oh, let us yet be merciful.
So may your highness, and yet punish too.
Sir, you show great mercy if you give him life after the taste of much correction.
Alas, your too much love and care of me are heavy as sirens against this poor wretch. If little faults proceeding on distemper shall not be winked at, how shall we stretch our eye when capital crimes, chewed, swallowed, and digested, appear before us? We'll yet enlarge that man, though Cambridge, Scroop, and Grey, in their dear care and tender preservation of our person, would have him punished. And now, to our French causes. Who are the late commissioners?
I won, my lord. Your highness bade me ask for it today.
So did you me, my liege?
And I, my royal sovereign.
Then Richard, Earl of Cambridge. There is yours. There, yours, Lord Scroop of Marsham. And Sir Knight Grey of Northumberland, this same is yours. Read them, and I know your worthiness. My Lord of Westmoreland and Uncle Exeter, we will aboard tonight. Why, how now, gentlemen? What see you in those papers that you lose so much complexion? Look ye, how they change. Their cheeks are paper. Why, what you read there that have so cowarded and chased your blood out of appearance?
I do confess my fault, and do submit me to your highness' mercy.
To which we all appeal.
The mercy that was quick in us but late, by your own counsel, is suppressed and killed. You must not dare, for shame, to talk of mercy. For your own reasons turn into your bosoms, as dogs upon their masters, worrying you. See you, my princes, and my noble peers, these English monsters. My lord of Cambridge here, you know how apt our love was to accord to furnish with all appurtenance, belonging to his honour, and this man hath for a few light crowns lightly conspired and sworn unto the practices of France to kill us here in Hampton, to the which this knight, no less for bounty bound to us than Cambridge is, hath likewise sworn. But oh, what shall I say to thee, Lord Scroop? Thou cruel, ingrateful, savage, and inhumane creature. Thou that didst bear the key of all my counsels, that knew the very bottom of my soul, that almost might have coined me into gold, wouldst thou have practised on me for thy use? May it be possible that foreign hire could out of thee extract one spark of evil that might annoy my finger? It's so strange that though the truth of it stands off as gross as black and white, my eye will scarcely see it. Treason and murder ever kept together as two yoked devils, sworn to either's purpose, working so grossly in a natural cause that admiration did not whoop at them. But thou, against all proportion, didst bring in wonder to wait on treason and murder and whatsoever cunning fiend it was that wrought upon thee so preposterously hath got the voice in hell for excellence. And other devils that suggest thy treasons do botch and bungle up damnation with patches, colours, and with forms being fetched from glistering semblances of piety. But he that tempered with thee, bid thee stand up, gave thee no instance why thou shouldst do treason, unless to dub thee with the name of traitor. If that same demon that hath gulled thee thus should win with his lion gait walk the whole world, he might return nasty Tartar back thee and tell the legions, I can never win a soul so easily as that Englishman's. Oh, how hast thou with jealousy infected the sweetness of affiance, shown men dutiful? Why, so didst thou. Seem they grave and learned? Why, so didst thou. Come, they of noble family? Why, so didst thou. Seem they religious? Why, so didst thou. Or are they spare in diet, free from gross passion or of mirth or anger, constant in spirit, not swearing with blood, garnished and decked in modest compliment, not working with the eye and without the ear, but in purged judgment, trusting neither? Such and so finely bolted didst thou seem. And thus thy fall hath left a kind of blot to make thee full-fraught man, and best indeed with some suspicion. I will weep for thee, for this revolt of thine, methinks, is like another fall of man. Their faults are open. Arrest them to the answer of the law, and God acquit them of their practices.
I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Richard, Earl of Cambridge. And I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Thomas, Lord Scrope of Marsham. I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland.
Our purposes God justly hath discovered, and I repent my fault more than my death, which I beseech your highness to forgive, although my body pay the price of it.
For me, the gold of France did not seduce, although I did admit it as a motive, the sooner to effect what I intended. But God be thanked for prevention, which in sufferance heartily will rejoice, beseeching God and you to pardon me.
Never did faithful subjects more rejoice at the discovery of most dangerous treason than I do at this hour joy o'er myself, prevented from a damned enterprise. My fault, but not my body. Pardon, sovereign.
God quit you in his mercy. Hear your sentence. You have conspired against our royal person, joined with an enemy proclaimed, and from his coffers received the golden earnest of our death, wherein you would have sold your king to slaughter, his princes and his peers to servitude, his subjects to oppression and contempt, and his whole kingdom into desolation. Touching our person, seek we no revenge, but we, our kingdom's safety, must so tender, whose ruin you sought, that to her laws we do deliver you. Get you therefore hence, poor miserable wretch, to your death, the taste whereof God of his mercy give you patience to endure, and true repentance of all your dear offences. Bear them hence. Now, lords for France, the enterprise whereof shall be to you as like glorious, we doubt not of a fair and lucky war, since God so graciously hath brought to light this dangerous treason, lurking in our way to hinder our beginnings. We doubt not now, but every rub is smothered in our way. Then forth, dear countrymen, let us deliver our puissance into the hand of God, putting it straight in expedition, cheerily to the sea. The signs of war advance. No king of England, if not king of France.
Sweet husband, prithee, let me bring thee to Staines.
No, my manly heart doth earn. Bardolph, be blithe. Nym, rouse thy vaunting veins. Boy, bristle thy courage up. For Falstaff he is dead, and we must earn. Therefore,
Would I were with him, where'er so he is, either in heaven or in hell.
Nay, sure he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom. If ever man went to Arthur's bosom, I made a finer end and went away, and it had been any Christian child. I parted even just between 12 and 1, even at the turning of the tide. For after I saw him fumble with the sheets and play with flowers and smile upon his finger's end, I knew there were just but one way, for his nose were as sharp as a pen and a table of green fields. How now, Sir John, quoth I, what man, be of good cheer. So he cried out, God, God, God! 3 or 4 times. Now I, to comfort him, bid him should not think of God. I hope there was no need to trouble himself with any such thing yet. So bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand into the bed and felt them, and they were as cold as any stone. And so then I felt to his knees, and so appeared and upward, and all were as cold as any stone.
They say he cried out sack.
Aye, that he did.
And of women?
Nay, they did not.
Yeah, they did, and said they were devil incarnate.
No, he could never abide carnation. That was a colour he never liked.
As said once, the devil would have him about women.
It did in some sort indeed handle women, but then he was rheumatic and talked of the whore of Babylon.
Do you not remember? I saw a flea stick upon Bardolph's nose, and I said it was as black soul burning in hell.
Well, the fuel is gone that maintains that fire. That of all the riches I got in his service.
So we sure the king will be gone from Southampton?
yeah, come, let's away. My love, give me thy lips. Look to my chattels and my movables. Let senses rule. The world is pitch and pay. Trust none for oaths are straws. Men's faith are wafer cakes, and hold fast is the only dog. My duck, therefore, cave to be thy counsellor. Go, clear thy crystals. Yoke fellas in arms, let us to France. Like horse leeches, my boys, to suck, the very blood to suck.
And that's but an wholesome food, they say.
Touch us off mouth and march.
Farewell, hostess.
I cannot kiss. That is the humour of it. But adieu.
If I reappear, keep close, I thee command.
Well, adieu.
Thus comes the English with full power upon us, and more than carefully it us concerns, to answer royally in our defences. Therefore the Dukes of Berry and Bretagne, of Brabant and of Orleans shall make forth, and you, Prince Dauphin, with all swift dispatch to Lynn, to repair our towns of war with men of courage and with means defendant. For England, his approaches makes as fierce as waters are to the sucking of a gulf. It fits us then to be as provident as fear may teach us out of late examples left by the fatal and neglected English upon our fields.
My most redoubted father, this most meet we arm us against the foe, for peace itself should not dull a kingdom, though war, no known quarrel were in question, but that defences, musters, preparations should be maintained, assembled, and collected, as were a war in expectation. Therefore, I say, 'tis meet we all go forth to view the sick and feeble parts of France, and let us do it with no show of fear. No, with no more than if we heard that England were busied with a Whitsun Morris dance, for, my good liege, she is so idly kinged, her sceptre so fantastically borne by a vain, giddy, shallow, humorous youth, that fear attends her not.
Oh, peace, Prince Dauphin! You are too much mistaken in this king. Question, your grace, the late ambassadors, with what great state he heard their embassy, how well supplied with noble counsellors, how modest in exception, and withal how terrible in constant resolution. And you shall find his vanities forspent were but the outside of the Roman Brutus, covering discretion with a coat of folly, as gardeners do with, oh dear, hide those roots that shall first spring and be most delicate.
Well, 'tis not so, my lord high constable, but though we think it so, it is no matter. In cases of defence, 'tis best to weigh the enemy more mighty than he seems, so the proportions of defence are filled, which of a weak and niggardly projection doth like a miser spoil his coat with scanting a little cloth.
Think we King Harry strong? And princes, look you strongly armed to meet him. The kindred of him hath been fleshed upon us, and he is bred out of that bloody strain that haunted us in our familiar paths. Witness our too much memorable shame, when Cressy battle fatally was struck, and all our princes captured by the hand of that black name Edward, Black Prince of Wales. Whilst that his mountain sire and mountain standing up in the air, crowned with the golden sun, saw his heroical seed, and smiled to see him mangle the work of nature and deface the patterns that by God and by French fathers had 20 years been made. This is the stem of that victorious stock, and let us fear the native mightiness and fate of him.
Ambassadors from Harry, King of England, do crave admittance to your majesty.
We'll give them present audience. Go, bring them in. You see, this chase is hotly followed, friends.
Turn head and stop pursuit, for coward dogs must spend their mouths when what they seem to threaten runs far before them. Good my sovereign, take up the English short, and let them know of what a monarchy you are ahead. Self-love, my liege, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting.
From our brother of England?
From him, and thus he greets your majesty. He wills you in the name of God Almighty that you divest yourself and lay apart the borrowed glories that by gift of heaven, by law of nature and of nations, longs to him and to his heirs, namely the crown, and all wide-stretched honours that pertain by custom and the ordinance of times unto the crown of France, that you may know 'tis no sinister nor no awkward claim, picked from the wormholes of long-vanished days, nor from the dust of old oblivion racked. He sends you this most memorable line in every branch, truly demonstrative, willing you overlook his pedigree. And when you find him evenly derived from his most famed and of famous ancestors, Edward III, he bids you then resign your crown and kingdom, indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger.
Or else what follows?
Well, bloody constraint. For if you hide the crown even in your hearts, there will he rake for it. Therefore, in fierce tempest is he coming, in thunder and in earthquake, like a Jove that if requiring fail, he will compel, and bids you in the bowels of the Lord deliver up the crown, and to take mercy on the poor souls for whom his hungry war opens his vasty jaws, and on your head turning the widow's tears, the orphan's cries, the dead men's blood, the privy maiden's groans, for husbands, fathers, and betrothed lovers that shall be swallowed in this controversy. This is his claim, his threatening, and my message? Unless the dolphin be in presence here, to whom expressly I bring greeting to.
For us, we will consider this further. Tomorrow shall you bear our full intent back to our brother of England.
Scorn and defiance, slate regard, contempt, and anything that may not misbecome the mighty sender doth he prize you at. Thus says my king, and if your father's highness do not, in grant of all demands at large, sweeten the bitter mock you sent his majesty, he'll call you to so hot an answer of it, that caves and wound ye voltages of France shall chide your trespass, and return your mock in second accent of his ordinance.
Say, if my father render fair return, it is against my will, for I desire nothing but odds with England. To that end, as matching with his my youth and vanity, I did present him with the Paris balls.
He'll make your Paris lover shake for it, were it the mistress court of mighty Europe. And be assured, you'll find a difference, as we his subjects have in their wonder found, between the promise of his greener days and these he masters now. Now he weighs time, even to the utmost grain, that you shall read in your own losses if he stay in France.
Tomorrow shall you know our mind at full.
Dispatch us with all speed, lest that our king come here himself to question our delay, for he is footed in this land already.
You shall be soon dispatched with fair conditions. A night is but small breath and little pause to answer matters of such consequence.
That's very true. They need a little more time to consider of their reply to the king. So we're going to take a short interval. We have, so if you want to take 5 minutes to take a little breather, get yourself a breath of air or a glass of water, make some tea, pour yourself a scotch, whatever it is that you want. Please take that time now. Cast, you can also breathe for 5 minutes. Those of you keeping count, we are about a third of the way through. So in case you want to give yourself a sense of running time. So hope you're enjoying it so far. The internet so far, thank you very much, is being reasonably kind, which is a huge relief. So things to talk about, because now I'm going to spend a few minutes being that bit of the program that you only read during the interval, the sort of the extra bit of the extra article, not necessarily like the photographs from rehearsals and so forth, but the article that's usually in the program saying something historical about the play or a performance of it. So that's what I get to do now. Things to talk about today. Well, we as a company very much wanted to bid a little farewell to our own Falstaff, because Matt Williams has been Falstaffing for us since so for 3 plays on a trot, and poor old Falstaff, of course, doesn't even get to die on stage, as it were, in Henry V. So we hope that you have equally enjoyed with us that little salute to the empty room that was Falstaff with his big coat hanging on the door. Just because for us, this has been a journey as a company. We've gone from Richard II all the way through, but it's been enjoyable. We don't normally get to run one actor with one character more than once or through a story. So to have the same person playing Falstaff and Quickly, and we've also blown a sad farewell kiss to our very wonderful Mistress Quickly, Geraldine Brennan, who has been such a light along this journey, the absolute delight. So we wanted to say farewell to those, not just to the characters out of the story, but also to the actors who've done the work of playing them. So they are now gone. We're going to be losing a few more beloveds before the end of this story. So I warn you about that. But it has been interesting because normally I don't let the cast know in advance who's playing which role. But when it comes to, who's playing Hal, well, it's Alec Benny, who's seen him through from Prince to King now. And who's playing Bardolph? Well, it's Fergus Rattigan, who's been playing him of various colours of fiery face all the way through, and so on. And we also have the same pistol, Ian, who's been pistoling for us gamely all the way through. So it's been great fun to actually see this happen, and even a character like Nim, who we're only going to see for the second time today, because it's not something we generally get to do. And to be honest, I mean, when the histories are done, they're usually done individually. They come but single spies normally. So again, it's been a sort of a luxury to roll the characters through and tell more of their story and watch them grow and develop and sort of do things we can't normally do. So farewell, Falstaff. And although having said farewell to Falstaff, it is quite possible that dear old Falstaff might pop back in another play. So just watch this space, because you never know. What else have I got to say? Well, you may have noticed that obviously in this play, we have to deal with the English court and the French court. And we have French characters that speak to each other and French characters who speak to the English. And we had quite a long debate as to whether, do we do accents? Shall we have the French court all sounding a little bit Hercule Poirot? Yes, I know he's Belgian, but, the accent. Or, because as far as I could determine in my research, it is quite likely that the original players would have played the French as being a bit French. But then the way the French characters were seen at the time was, should we say, different from the way we would choose to present them today. And this is always a problem, because, or it's a decision that we have to make, because do we present a play as being entirely true to the spirit of the time in which it was written, or do we, are we presenting that play, or are we presenting a play for today? And we decided we are presenting a play for today. We are performing for you. We are not actually performing at the Globe 400 years ago. Bit of a shame, but there you are. So we made the decision of, we don't really want to do what come over as slightly comedy accents, although we've kept a little touch of French accent, which I hope you noticed, because the ambassador did it very, very delicately, very, very well in one of the opening scenes. But we just keep this little touch of the French accent when a French character speaks to an English character, or their English becomes a little bit better. So it's almost like we would say, heighten their RP, just to see, just to sort of make a change. It's not a foolproof system, because there are occasions when the French together speak French. So it's not perfect, but it's what we chose. If you have another thought on how this would be best presented, then I would sincerely be very interested to hear it, because it's quite a knotty problem, and it's one that we're going to have to deal with again in Henry VI when we get to that in August. So yeah, I'm interested to hear from you. So please do drop us a message. Drop by our Twitter at Shake Scenery, or you can leave us a message here on our YouTube feed. Yeah, that would be quite interesting. So I feel like I've programmed long enough, and we'll ask the cast to get themselves ready to prepare for the second chunk of play. So King Henry has so far dealt with cheeky ambassadors. He's seen off treasonous citizens, and he has set off for France, where, according to his uncle Exeter, who's just delivered his message to the court, he has already arrived. So we're going to join we're going to ask the chorus to take us back into the story, and we're going to go straight into from him. We're going to be doing battle in France. So this is going to be fun. Okay, always lovely doing a battle via sound effects on Zoom. The imagination is so free. So, chorus, are you there?
Yes.
Excellent. Right. So as soon as I go, please take us to combat back into the world of Henry V. Let's enjoy the second half. Enjoy, everybody.
Thus, with his magic wings are swifts in flies, in motion of no less celerity than that of thought. Suppose that you have seen the well-appointed king at Dover Pier embark his royalty and his brave fleet with silken streamers the young Phoebus fanning. Play with your fancies, and in them behold upon the humble tackle ship boys clamming. Hear the shrill whistle which doth order give to sounds confused. Behold the thread and sail, borne with invisible and creeping wind. Through the huge bottom, through the furrowed sea, breasting the lofty surge. Oh, but think you stand upon the rivage, and behold a city on the inconstant billows dancing. For so appear this fleet majestical, hoarding due course to Harfleur. Follow, follow, grapple you mind to stern edge of this navy, and leave your England as dead midnight still, guarded with grandsires, babies, and old women, either past or not arrived to pith and puissance. For who is he whose chin is but enriched with one appearing heir that will not follow these cold and choice-drawn cavaliers to France? Your thought, and therein see a siege. Behold the ordnance on their carriages, with fatal mouths gaping at girded Harfleur. Suppose the ambassador from the French comes back, tells Harry that the king doth offer him Catherine his daughter, and with her to dowry some petty and unprofitable dukedoms. The offer likes nuts, and the nimble gunner with flintstock the devilish cannon touches, and all dawn goes all before them. Still, be kind, and eke out our performance with your mind.
To the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when that blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinew, commune up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard, favored rage. Then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let it pry through the portage of the head, like the brass cannon Let the brow overwhelm it as fearfully as often gold rock o'erhang and jutty his confounded base. Swill with the wild and wasteful ocean, now set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide. Hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, you noble English, whose blood is fetched from fathers of war proof, fathers that, like so many Alexanders, have in these parts from morn till even fought and sheathed from their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers. Now attest that those whom you called fathers, that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, good yeoman, whose lines were made in England, show us here the mettle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not, for there is none of you so mean and base that hath not noble lustre in your eyes. I see you stand like the greyhounds in the slips, straying upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge, by God, for Harry, England, and St. George!
On to the breach! To the breach!
Yeah!
Pray thee, Corporal, stay! The knocks are too hot, and for my own part I have not a case of lives. The humour is too hot. That is the very plain song of it.
Oh, the plain song is most just. The humours do abound. Knocks come and go. God's vassals drop and die, and sword and shield in bloody fields doth win immortal fame.
Oh, would I were in an ale house in London. I'll give all my fame for a pot of ale and safety.
And I, if wishes would prevail with me, my purpose should not fail with me, but thither would I hie.
As duly, but not as truly, as bird doth sing on bough.
Up to the breach, you dogs! Avaunt, you callions!
Oh, be merciful, great Duke, to men of mould. Abate thy rage, abate thy manly rage. Abate thy rage, great Duke. Oh, good Barcock, abate thy rage, use lenity, sweet Chuck.
These be good humours. Your honour wins bad humours.
As young as I am, I have observed these three swashers. I am boy to them all three, but all they three, though they would serve me, could not be man to me. For indeed, three such antiques do not amount to a man. For Bardolph, he is white-livered and red-faced, by the means whereof a face is out, but fights not. For Pistol, he has a killing tongue and a quiet sword, by the means whereof a breaks word and keeps whole weapon. For Nym, he has heard that men of few words are the best men, and therefore he scorns to say his prayers, lest there should be thought a coward. For his few bad words are matched with a few good deeds, for it never broke any man's head but his own, and that was against a post when he was drunk. They will steal anything and call it purchase. Bardolph stole a lute case, bore it 12 leagues and sold it for 3 halfpence. Nym and Bardolph are sworn brothers in filching, and in Tallis they stole a fire shovel. I knew by that piece of service the men would carry coals. They would have me as familiar with men's pockets as their gloves or their handkerchiefs, which makes much against my manhood if I should take from another's pocket to put it into mine, for it is a plain pocketing up of wrongs. I must leave them and seek some better service. Their villainy goes against my weak stomach, and therefore I must cast it up.
William, you must come presently to the mines. The Duke of Gloucester would speak with you.
To the mines? Tell you, the Duke, it is not so good to come to the mines. For look you, the mines is not according to the disciplines of the war. The concavities of it is not sufficient. For look you, the adversary you may discuss unto the Duke, look you, is digged himself 4 yards under the countermines by Jesu. I think I will plough up all if there is not better directions.
The Duke of Gloucester, to whom the order of the siege is given, is altogether directed by an Irishman, a very valiant gentleman in faith.
It is Captain MacMorris, is it not?
I think it be.
Oh, by Jesu, he is an ass, as in the world. I will verify as much in his beard. He has no more directions in the true disciplines of the wars, look you, of the Roman disciplines, than is a puppy dog.
Here he comes. And the Scots captain, Captain Jamie, with him.
Captain Jamie is a marvellous, valorous gentleman, that is certain, and of great expedition and knowledge in the ancient wars. Upon my particular knowledge of his directions, by Jesu, he will maintain his argument as well as any military man in the world in the disciplines of the pristine wars of the Romans.
I say good day, Captain Flayland.
God and your worship, good Captain James.
How now, Captain MacMorris? Have you quit the mines? Have the pioneers given up?
By Christ's law, 'tis ill done. The work is given over. The trumpet sounds the retreat. By my hand, I swear, and my father's soul, and the work is ill done. It gives over. I have bowed up to the tower. So Christ save my law. In an hour, oh, 'tis ill done. 'Tis ill done. By my hand, 'tis ill done.
Captain MacMorris, I beseech you now, will you vouchsafe me, look you, a few disputations with you, as partly touching or concerning the disciplines of the wars, the Roman wars, in the way of argument, look you, and friendly communication, partly to satisfy my opinion, and partly for the satisfaction, look you, of my mind, as touching the direction of the military discipline. That is the point.
It shall be very good. Good faith, good captains both, and I shall quit you with good leave as I may pick occasion. That shall I marry.
It is no time to discourse. So Christ save me, the day is hot, and the weather, and the wars, and the king, and the dukes, it is no time to discourse. The town is besieged, and the trumpet called us to the breach, and we talk, and Christ do nothing. 'Tis shame of all of us. So God same to shame us to stand still. It is a shame by my hand, and there is Thomas to be cut, throats to be cut, and work to be done, and there is nothing done. So Christ's same law.
By the mass, ere these eyes of mine take themselves to slumber, I'll do good service, or I'll lick the ground for it. Aye, or go to death, and I'll pay it as valorously as I may. That shall I surely do. That is the brief and the long. Marry, I would full fain have heard some question between you two, eh?
Captain MacMorris, I think, look you, under your correction, there is not many of your nation.
Of my nation? What is my nation? It is a villain, and a bastard, and a knave, and a rascal. What is my nation? Who talks of my nation?
Look you, if you take the matter otherwise than it is meant, Captain MacMorris, peradventure I shall think you do not use me with that affability as in direction you ought to use me. Look you, being as good a man as yourself, both in the disciplines of war and in the derivation of my birth and in other particularities.
I do not know you so good a man as myself, so Christ save me, I will cut off your head.
Gentlemen both, you will mistake each other.
Hey, that's a foul fault.
Town sounds a parley.
Captain McMorris, when there is more better opportunity to be required, look you, I will be so bold as to tell you, I know the disciplines of war, and there is an end.
Expectation of this day an end. The Dauphin, of whom succours we entreated, returns us that his powers are yet not ready to raise so great a siege. Therefore, great King, we yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy. Enter our gates. Dispose of us and ours, for we no longer are defensible.
Open your gates. Come, Uncle Exeter, go you and enter Harfleur. There remain and fortify it strongly against the French. Use mercy to them all for us, dear uncle. The winter coming on and sickness growing upon our soldiers, we will retire to Calais. Tonight in Harfleur, we will be your guest. Tomorrow, for the march, we addressed.
Alice, tu as été en Angleterre et tu parles bien le langage.
Un peu, madame.
Je te prie de m'enseigner. Il faut que j'apprenne à parler. Comment appelez-vous le main en anglais?
La main, elle appelle the hand.
The hand. Et les doigts?
Les doigts? Oh, ma foi! J'ai oublié. Doigts. Mais je me souviens. Les doigts, je pense qu'ils sont appelés the fingers. Oui, the fingers.
La main, the hand. Les doigts, the fingers. Je pense que je suis le bon écolier. J'ai gagné 2 mots d'anglais vitement. Et comment appelez-vous les ongles?
Les ongles, les appelons the nails.
The nails. Écoutez, dites-moi si je parle bien. The hand, the fingers et the nails.
C'est bien dit, madame. Il est fort bon anglais.
Dites-moi l'anglais pour le bras.
The arm, madame.
Et des coudes?
D'elbow.
D'elbow. Je m'en fais la répétition de tous les mots que vous m'avez appris dès à présent.
Il est trop difficile, madame, comme je pense.
Excusez-moi, Alice. Écoutez. Hand, the finger, the nails, dame, the elbow.
D'elbow, madame.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu, je m'en oubliais. D'elbow. Comment appelez-vous l'école?
L'école? De Nick, madame.
De Nick?
De Nick.
Et le menton?
De chin.
De chin. L'école de Nick, le menton de chin.
Oui, sauf votre honneur. En vérité, vous prononcez les mots aussi droit que les natifs d'Angleterre.
Je n'ai pas d'apprendre pour le castillo. Et dans peu de temps.
N'avez-vous déjà oublié ce que je vous ai enseigné?
Non, je réciterai à vous promptement. The hand, the finger, the nails.
The nails, madame. The nails.
The nails. Down. The elbow.
Sauf votre honneur? D'elbow.
Ainsi dis-je. D'elbow.
D'elbow.
De nick et de chin. Comment appelez-vous le pied de robe?
Le foot, madame, et le con.
Foutre et le con. Ils sont mauvais, corruptibles, grosses et impudiques. Et non pour la dame d'honneur de C, je ne voudrais prononcer ce mot devant le seigneur de France pour tout le monde. Oh, le fou.
Excellent,
Néanmoins, tu réciteras en autrefois ma leçon ensemble. Dinde, de fingre, de nails, d'armes, de de nick, de signe, de foot.
Excellent, madame.
C'est assez pour une fois. Allons-nous à dîner.
"'Tis certain he hath passed the river Song."
And if he be not fought withal, my lord, let us not live in France, let us quit all and give our vineyards to a barbarous people.
Oh dear, Vivant. Shall a few sprays of us, the emptying of our father's luxury, our science, put in wild and savage stock, spirit up so suddenly into the clouds, and overlook their crafters?
Normans, but bastard Normans, Norman bastards, more de ma vie, if they march
They
along.
march along and fought withal, I will sell my dukedom to buy a slobbery and a dirty farm in that snook-shotten Ile of Albion.
Sorry.
Dieu de bataille,
Dieu de
where have
bataille.
they this metal?
Where have they this metal? Is not their climate foggy, raw, and dull? On whom, as in despite, the sun looks pale, killing their fruit with frowns. Can sodden water, a drench for surreined jades, their barley broth, decoct their cold blood to such valiant heat? And shall our quick blood, spirited with wine, seem frosty? Oh, for honour of our land, let us not hang like roping icicles upon our houses' thatch, whilst a more frosty people sweat drops of valiant youth in our rich fields. Poor, we call them in their native lords.
By faith and honour. Our madams mock at us and plainly say our metal is bred out, and they will give their bodies to the lust of English youth, to new store France with bastard warriors.
They bid us to the English dancing schools and teach la voltas high and swift carantos, saying our grace is only in our ears and that we are most lofty runaways.
Where is Monsieur the Herald? Speed him hence. Let him greet England with our sharp defence. Up, princes, and with spirit of honoured edge, more sharper than your swords, high to the field. Charles de la Brosse, High Constable of France, you Dukes of Orleans, Bourbon, and of Berry, Alençon, Brabant, Bar, and Bourgogne, Jacques Chatillon, Rambouillet, Vandemont, Beaumont, Grand Prix, Roussin, and Falconbridge, Lois, Lestrade, Beaucastel, and Jarasol, High Dukes, great princes, barons, lords, and kings, for your great seats now quit you and great chains, by Harry England that sweeps through our land, with pennons painted in bloods of Harlow, rush on his host, as doth the melted snow upon the valleys, whose low vassal seat the Alps doth spit, and void his rhyme upon. Go upon him, you, and your power enough, and in the captive chariot of Rome, bring him our prisoner.
This becomes the great. Sorry am I, his numbers are so few. his soldiers sick and famished in their march. For I am sure, when he shall see our army, he'll drop his heart into the sink of fear, and for achievement, offer us his ransom.
Therefore, Lord Constable, haste on Montjoy, and let him say to England that we send to know what willing ransom he will give. Prince Dauphin, you shall stay with us in Rome.
Not so. I do beseech your majesty.
Be patient, for you shall remain with us. Now, forth, Lord Chamberlain, and princes all, for quickly bring us word of England's fall.
Now, Captain Llewellyn, come ye from the bridge?
I assure you, there is very excellent services committed at the bridge.
Is the Duke of Exeter safe?
The Duke of Exeter is as magnanimous as Agamemnon, and a man that I love and honour with my soul, and my heart, and my duty, and my life, and my living, and my uttermost power. He is not, God be praised and blessed, any hurt in the world, but keeps the bridge most valiantly, with excellent discipline. There is an ancient lieutenant there at the bridge. I think in my very conscience he is as valiant a man as Mark Antony. And he is a man of no estimation in the world, but I did see him do as gallant service.
What do you call him?
He is called Ancient Pistol.
I know him not.
Here's the man.
Captain, I thee beseech to do me favours. The Duke of Exeter doth love thee well.
Aye, I praise God, and I have merited some love at his hands.
Bardolph, a soldier firm and sound of heart and of buxom valour, hath by cruel fate and giddy fortune's fickle wheel, oh, that goddess blind that stands upon the rolling stone.
By your patience, Ancient Pistol, Fortune is painted blind, with a muffler afore his eyes, to signify to you that Fortune is blind, and she is painted also with a wheel, to signify to you, which is the moral of it all, that she is turning and inconstant, and mutability and variation, and her foot, look you, is fixed upon a spherical stone, which rolls and rolls and rolls in good truth. The poet makes a most excellent description of it. Fortune is an excellent moral.
But Fortune is Bardolph's foe, and frowns on him, for he hath stolen a pax, and hanged must be, a damned death. Oh, let gallows gate for dog, let man go free, and let not hemp his windpipe suffocate. Oh, but Exeter hath given the doom of death, for pax at a very little price. Therefore go speak, the Duke will hear thy voice, and not let Bardolph's vital thread be cut with edge of penny cord and vile reproach. Speak, Captain, for his life, and I will thee requite.
Ancient Pistol, I do partly understand your meaning.
Oh, why then rejoice therefore?
Certainly, Ancient, it is not a thing to rejoice at, for if, look you, he were my brother, I would desire the Duke to use his good pleasure and put him to execution, for discipline ought to be used.
Well, die and be damned, and Feigle for thy friendship.
It is well.
Oh, the fig of Spain.
Very good.
Why, this is an arrant counterfeit rascal. Now, I remember him now. A bawd, a cut purse.
I'll assure you, I uttered as brave words at the bridge as you shall see in a summer's day. But it is very well. what he has spoke to me, that is well, I warrant you, when time is served.
Why, 'tis a gull, fool, a rogue that now and then goes to the wars to grace himself at his return into London under the form of a soldier, and such fellows are perfect in the great commanders' names, and they will learn you by rote where services were done. At such and such a sconce, at such a breach, at such a convoy. Now, who came off bravely, who was shot, who disgraced, what terms the enemy stood on. And this they con perfectly in the phrase of war, which they pick up with some new tuned oaths, and what a beard of the general's cut and a horrid suit of the camp will do among foaming bottles and ale-washed wits is wonderful to be thought on. But you must learn to know such slanders of the age, or else you may be marvellously mistook.
I tell you what, Captain Gower, I do perceive he is not the man that he would gladly make show to the world he is. If I find a hole in his court, I will tell him my mind. Hark you, the king is coming, and I must speak with him from the bridge. God bless us, your majesty.
Now, Llewellyn, camest thou from the bridge?
Aye, so please your majesty. The Duke of Exeter has very gallantly maintained the bridge. The French has gone off, look you, and there is a gallant and most brave passages. Marry, the adversary have possession of the bridge, but he is enforced to retire, and the Duke of Exeter is master of the bridge. I can tell your majesty, the Duke is a brave man.
What men have you lost, Llewellyn?
The perdition of the adversary hath been very great, reasonable great. Marry, for my part, I think the Duke hath lost never a man, but one that is like to be executed for robbing a church. One Bardolph, if your majesty know the man. His face is all bubbacles and whelks and knobs and flames of fire, and his lips blows at his nose, and is like a coal of fire, sometimes blue and sometimes red, but his nose is executed, and his fire's out.
We would have all such offenders so cut off, and we give express charge that in our marches through the country, there be nothing compelled from the villages, nothing taken, but paid for. None of the French upbraided or abused in disdainful language, but when levity and cruelty play for a kingdom, the gentler gamester is the soonest winner.
You know me by my habit.
Well then, I know thee. What shall I know of thee?
My master's mind.
Unfold it.
Thus save my king, sayest thou to Harry of England, though we seem dead, we did but sleep. Advantage is a better soldier than rashness. Tell him we could have rebuked him at Harfleur, but that we thought not good to bruise in an every till it were full ripe. Now, we speak upon our cue, and our voice is imperial. England shall repent his folly, see his weakness, and admire our sufferance. Bid him, therefore, consider of his ransom, which much proportion the losses we have borne, the subject we have lost, the disgrace we have digested, which in weight to re-answer his pettiness would bow under. For our losses, his exchequers is too poor. For the fusion of our blood, the muster of his kingdom too faint a number, and for our disgrace, his own person kneeling at our feet, but a weak and worthless satisfaction. To add defiance, and tell him, for conclusion, he has betrayed his followers, whose condemnation is pronounced. So, fair my king and master, so much my office.
What is thy name? I know thy quality.
Bonjour.
Thou dost thy office fairly. Turn thee back, and tell thy king, I do not seek him now, but could be willing to march unto Calais without impeachment, for to say the sooth, 'tis no wisdom to confess so much unto an enemy of craft and vanity. My people are with sickness much enfeebled, my numbers lessened, and those few I have almost no better than so many French, who, when they were in health, I tell thee, Herald, I thought upon one pair of English legs did march 3 Frenchmen. Yet forgive me, God, that I do brag thus. This your heir of France hath blown that vice in me. I must repent. Go. Therefore, tell thy master, here I am. My ransom is this frail and worthless trunk, my army but a weak and sickly guard. Yet, God before, tell him we will come on. Though France himself and such another neighbour stand in our way, there's for thy labour, Mountjoy. Go, bid thy master well advise himself. If we may pass, we will. If we be hindered, we shall your tawny ground with your red blood discolour. And so, Mountjoy, fare you well. The sum of all our answer is but this. We would not seek a battle as we are, nor as we are, we will say we will not shun it. So tell your master.
I shall deliver so, thanks to your highness.
I hope they will not come upon us now.
We are in God's hand, father, not in theirs. March to the bridge. It now draws towards night. Beyond the river, we'll encamp ourselves, and on tomorrow bid them march away.
Now, entertain conjecture of a time where creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the white vessel of the universe. From camp to camp, through the foul womb of night, the hum of either army stilly sounds that the fixed sentinels almost receive their secret whispers of each other's watch. Fire answers fire, and through the paly flame each battle sees the other's ambert face. Steed threatens steed, in eye and boastful neighs, piercing the night's dull ear. And from the tent, the armorers accomplishing the night, bidding rivets up with a hammer, give dreadful notes of preparation. The country cocks do crow, the clocks do toll, and the third hour of drowsy morning name. Proud of their numbers and secure in soul, the confident and overlusty French do the low-rated English play out dice, and chide the crippled tardy-gated knight who, like a foul and ugly witch, doth limp so tediously away. The poor condemned English, like sacrifices, by their watchful fires sit patiently and inly ruminate the morning's danger. And their gesture sad, investing lengthening cheeks and war-worn coats, presented them unto the gazing moon so many horrid ghosts. Oh, now, who will behold the royal captain of this ruined band? Walking from watch to watch, from camp to camp, let him cry praise and glory on his head. For forth he goes, and visit all its host, bid them good morrow with a modest smile, and call them brothers, friends, and countrymen. Upon this royal face there is no note how dread and harmy are surrounded him, nor doth he dedicate one jot of colour unto the weary and all-watched night, but freshly looks and overbears attained, with cheerful semblance and sweet majesty, that every wretch, pining and pale before him, gets comfort from his looks. A largess, universal like the sun, his liberal eye doth give to anyone, thawing cold fear, that mean and gentle all behold as may unworthiness defined, a little touch of hurry in the night. And so our seam must to the battle fly, where, oh, for pity, we shall much disgrace with 4 or 5 most vile and ragged foes, right ill disposed in brow ridiculous, the name of Agincourt. Yet sit and see, minding true things by what they mockeries be.
I have the best armour of the world. Would it were day.
You have excellent armour, but let my horse have his due.
It is the best horse of Europe.
Oh, will it never be morning?
My Lord of Orleans and my Lord High Constable, you talk of horse and armour?
You are as well provided of both as any prince in the world.
What a long night is this. I will not change my horse with any that treads on but for postures. He bounds from the earth as if his entrails were hairs. Le cheval volant, the Pegasus, je donnerai de faux. When I bestride him, I soar. I am a hawk. He trods the air. The earth sings when he touches it. The basest horn of his hoof is more musical than the pipe of Hermes.
He is of the colour of the nutmeg.
And of the heat of the ginger. It is a beast for Perseus. He is pure air and fire, and the dull elements of earth and water never appear in him, but only in patient stillness while his rider mounts him. He is indeed a horse, and all other jades you may call beasts.
Indeed, my lord, it is a most absolute and excellent horse.
It is the Prince of Palfreys. His neigh is like the bidding of a monarch, and his countenance enforces homage.
No more, cousin, no more.
Nay, the man hath no wit that cannot, from the rising of the lark to the lodging of the lamb, vary deserved praise on my palfrey. It is a theme as fluent as the sea. Turn the sands into eloquent tongues, and my horse is argument for them all. 'Tis a subject for a sovereign to reason on, and for a sovereign's sovereign to ride on, and for the world, familiar to us and unknown, to lay apart their particular functions and wonder at him. I once writ a sonnet in his praise, and began thus: wonder of nature.
I have heard a sonnet begin so to one's mistress.
Then they did imitate that which I composed to my cursor, for my horse is my mistress.
Your mistress bears well?
Me well, which is the prescript praise and perfection of a good and particular mistress.
Nay, for me thought yesterday your mistress shrewdly shook your back.
So perhaps did yours.
Mine was not bridled.
Oh, then belike she was old and gentle, and you rode her like a kern of Ireland, your French hose off, and in your straight strosses.
You have good judgment in horsemanship.
Be warned by me, then. They that ride so and ride not warily fall into foul bogs. I had rather have my horse to my mistress.
I had rather lief have my mistress a jade.
I tell thee, constable, my mistress wears her own hair.
I could make as true a boast of that if I had a sow to my mistress.
Le chien retourne à son propre vêtement, elle est la vie la ver boubier. Thou makest use of anything.
Yet I do not use my horse for my mistress, or any such proverb so little kin to the purpose.
My Lord Constable, the armour I saw in your tent tonight, are those stars or suns upon it?
Stars, my lord.
Some of them will fall tomorrow, I hope.
And yet my sky shall not want.
That may be, for you bear a many superfluously, and 'twere more honour some were away.
Even as your horse bears your praises, who would trot as well were some of your brags dismounted.
Would I were able to load him with his desert. Will it never be day? I will trot tomorrow a mile, and my way shall be paved with English faces.
I will not so, for fear I should be faced out of my way. But I would it were morning, for I would fain be about the ears of the English.
Who will go hazard with me for 20 prisoners?
You must first go yourself to hazard, ere you have them.
'Tis midnight. I'll go arm myself.
The Dolphin longs for morning.
He longs to eat the English.
I think he will eat all he kills.
By the white hand of my lady, he's a gallant prince.
Swear by her foot that she might tread out the oath.
He is simply the most active gentleman of France.
Doing is activity, and he will still be doing.
He never did harm, that I heard of.
Nor will do none tomorrow. He will keep that good name still.
I know him to be valiant.
I was told that by one who knows him better than you.
What's he?
Marry, he told me so himself, and he said he cared not who knew it.
He needs not. It is no hidden virtue in him.
By my faith, sir, but it is. Never anybody saw it. But his lackey, it is a hooded valour, and when it appears, it will bait.
I will never say it well.
I will cap that proverb with, there is flattery in friendship.
And I will take up that with, give the devil his due.
Well placed. There stands your friend for the devil. Have at the very eye of that proverb with a pox of the devil.
You are the better at proverbs by how much a fool's bolt is soon shot.
You have shot over.
It's not the first time you were overshot.
My Lord High Constable, the English lie within 1,500 paces of your tents.
Who have measured the ground?
The Lord Grand Prix.
A valiant and most expert gentleman. Would it were day? Alas, poor Harry of England. He longs not for the dawning, as we do.
What a wretched and peevish fellow is this King of England, to mope with his fat-brained followers so far out of his knowledge.
If the English had any apprehension, they'd run away.
Oh, that they lack. For if their heads had any intellectual armour, they could never wear such heavy headpieces.
That island of England breeds very valiant creatures. Their mastiffs are of unmatchable courage.
Oh, foolish curs that run winking into the mouth of a Russian bear and have their heads crushed like rotten apples. You may as well say that's a valiant flea that dare eat his breakfast on the lip of a lion.
Juice! And the men do sympathise with the mastiffs, in robustious and rough coming on, leaving their wits with their wives, and then give them great meals of beef and iron and steel. They will eat like wolves and fight like devils.
Aye, but these English are shroudly out of beef.
Then shall we find tomorrow? They have only stomachs to eat and none to fight. Now is it time to arm? Shall we about it?
Oh, it is now 2 o'clock, but let me see. By 10 we shall have each 100 English men.
Arthur, 'tis true that we are in great danger. The greater therefore should our courage be. Good morrow, brother Bedford. God Almighty, there is some soul of goodness in things evil. Would men observantly distill it out? For our bad neighbour makes us early stir us, which is both healthful and good husbandry. Besides, they are our outward consciences and preachers to us all, admonishing that we should dress us fairly for our ends. Thus may we gather honey from the weed and make a moral of the devil himself. Good morrow, old Sir Thomas Uppingham. A good soft pillow for that good white head were better than the churlish turf of France.
Not so, my lord. This lodging suits me better, since I may say, now lie I like a king.
'Tis good for men to love their present pains. Upon example, so the spirit is eased. And when the mind is quickened, out of doubt, the organs, though defunct and dead before, break up their drowsy grave, and newly move with casted slough and fresh leisury. Lend me thy cloak, Sir Thomas. Brothers both, commend me to the princes in our camp. Do my good morrow to them, and anon desire them all to my pavilion.
We shall, my liege.
Shall I attend your grace?
No, my good knight. Go with my brothers to the lords of England. I and my bosom must debate a while, and then I would know other company.
Lord in heaven bless thee, noble Harry.
God a mercy, old heart, thou speakest cheerfully.
Kevula,
a friend?
Discuss unto me, art thou officer, or art thou base, common, and popular?
I am a gentleman of a company.
Trailst thou the puissant pike?
Even so, what are you?
As good a gentleman as the emperor.
Then you are better than the king.
Oh, the king's a borecock, and a heart of gold, a lad of life, an imp of fame, of parents good, of fist most valiant. I kiss his dirty shoe, and from heartstring I love the lovely bully. What is thy name?
Harry Leroy.
Leroy? A Cornish name? Art thou of Cornish crew?
No, I am a Welshman.
Knowst thou Llewellyn?
Yes.
Yeah, well, tell him I'll knock his leek about his pate upon St. Davy's Day.
You not wear your dagger in your cap that night? Least he knock you that about yours.
Art thou his friend?
And his kinsman too.
Oh, well, a fie go for thee then.
Oh, thank you. God be with you.
My name is Pistol called.
It talks well with your fierceness.
Captain Llewellyn.
So, in the name of Jesus Christ, speak fewer. It is the greatest admiration in the universal world when the true and ancient prerogatives and laws of the wars is not kept. If you would take the pains but to examine the wars of Pompey the Great, you shall find, I warrant you, that there is no tittle-tattle, nor pribble-prabble in Pompey's camp. I warrant you, you shall find the ceremonies of the wars, and the cares of it, and the forms of it, and the sobriety of it. and the modesty of it to be otherwise.
Why, the enemy is loud. You hear him all night.
If the enemy is an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb, it is meet, think you, is it meet, think you, that we should also, look you, be an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb in your own conscience now?
I will speak lower.
I pray you, and beseech you, that you will.
Yeah, a little out of fashion. There is much care and valour in this Welshman.
Brother John Bates, is not that the morning which breaks yonder?
I think it be, but we have no great cause to desire the approach of day.
We see yonder the beginnings of the day, but I think we shall never see the end of it. Who goes there? Under what captain serve you?
Under Sir John Erpingham.
Ah, a good old commander, and a most kind gentleman. I pray you, what thinks he of our estate?
Even as man racked upon a sand that looked to be washed off the next tide.
He hath not told his thought to the king.
No, nor is it not me he should. For though I speak at you, I think the king is but a man, as I am. The violet smells to him as it doth to me. The element shows it to him as it doth to me. All his senses have but humane conditions. His ceremonies laid by, in his nakedness he appears but a man, and though his affections are higher mounted than ours, yet when they stoop with the like wing. Therefore, when he sees reason of fears, as we do, his fears, out of doubt, may be of the same relish as ours are. Yet, in reason, no man should possess him with any appearance of fear, lest he, by showing it, should dishearten his army.
He may show what outward courage he will, but I believe as cold a night as 'tis, he could wish himself in Thames up to the neck. And so I would he were, and I buy him at all adventures, so we were quit here.
By my troth, I will speak my conscience of the king. I think he would not wish himself anywhere but where he is.
Well, I would he were there alone. So should he be sure to be ransomed and as many poor men lives saved.
I dare say you love him not so ill to wish him here alone. However, you speak this to feel other men's minds. Methinks I could not die anywhere so contented as in the king's company, his cause being just and his quarrel honourable.
That's more than we know.
Aye, or more than we should seek after, for we know enough. If we know we are the king's subjects, if his cause be wrong, our obedience to the king wipes the crime of it out of us.
But if the cause be not good, the king himself hath a heavy reckoning to make when all those legs and arms and heads chopped off in a battle shall join together at the latter day and cry all, we died at such a place. Some swearing, some crying for a surgeon, some upon their wives, left poor behind them, some upon the debts they owe, some upon their children, rawly left. I am afeard that a few die well that die in a battle. For how can they charitably dispose of anything when blood is their argument? Now, if these men do not die, well, it will be a black matter for the king that led them to it, who to disobey were against all proportion of subjection.
If a son that is by his father sent about merchandise do sinfully miscarry upon the sea, the imputation of his wickedness by your rule should be imposed upon his father that sent him. Or if a servant under his master's command, transporting a sum of money, be assailed by robbers and die in many irreconciled iniquities, you may call the business of the master author of the servant's damnation. But this is not so. The king Is not bound to answer the particular endings of his soldiers, the father of his son, nor the master of his servant, for they purpose not their death when they purpose their services. Besides, there is no king, be his cause never so spotless, if it come to the arbitrament of swords, can it fire out with all unspotted soldiers. And some, peradventure, have on them the guilt of premeditated and contrived murder, some of beguiling virgins with the broken seals of perjury, some making the wars their bulwark, that have before galled the gentle bosom of peace with pillage and robbery. Now, if these men have defeated the law and outrun a native punishment, though they can outstrip the men, they have no wings to fly from God. War is his beadle, war is his vengeance, so that here men are punished for before breach of the king's laws, in now the king's quarrel. Where they feared the death, they have borne life away, and where they would be safe, they perish. Then, if they die unprovided, no more is the king guilty of their damnation than he was before guilty of those impieties, for the which they are now visited. Every subject's duty is the king's, but every subject's soul is his own. Therefore, should every soldier in the wars do as every sick man in his bed, wash every mouth out of his conscience, and dying so, death is to him advantage? Or not dying, the time was blessedly lost, wherein such preparation was gained. And in him that's escaped, it were not sin to think that making God so free an offer, he let him outlive that day to see his greatness, and to teach others how they should prepare.
'Tis certain. Every man that dies ill, the ill upon his own head. The king is not to answer it.
I do not desire he should answer for me, and yet I determined to fight lustily for him.
I myself heard the king say he would not be ransomed.
He said so to make us fight cheerfully, but when our throats are cut, he may be ransomed and we none the wiser.
If I live to see it, I will never trust his word after.
Pay him then. That's a perilous shot out of an elder gun that abhorrent private displeasure can do against a monarch. You may as well go about to turn the sun to ice with fanning in his face with a peacock's feather. You'll never trust his word after. Come, 'tis a foolish saying.
Your reproof is something too round. I should be angry with you if the time were convenient.
There'll be a quarrel between us if you live.
I embrace it.
How shall I know thee again?
Give me
How
any
shall I
gauge
know
of
thee
thine.
again?
Give me any gauge of thine, and I will wear it in my bonnet. Then, if ever thou darest acknowledge it, I will make it my quarrel.
Here's my glove.
There.
Ah. This will I also wear in my cap. If ever thou come to me and say, after tomorrow, this is my glove, by this hand I will take thee a box of the air.
If I ever live to see it, I will challenge it.
Thou darest as well be hanged.
Well, I will do it, though I be in the king's company.
Keep thy word. Fare thee well.
Be friends, you English fools, be friends.
Ah.
We have French quarrels enough if you could tell how to reckon.
Indeed, the French may lay 20 French crowns to one, they will beat us, for they bear them on their shoulders. But it is no English treason to cut French crowns, and tomorrow the king himself will be a clipper. Upon the king, let us live our lives, our souls, our debts, our careful wives, our children, and our sins lay on the king. We must bear all. Oh, hard conditions, twin born with greatness, subject to the breath of every fool whose sense no more can feel but his own ringing. What infinite heart's ease must kings neglect that private men enjoy? And what have kings that privates have not too, save ceremony, save general ceremony? And what art thou, thou idle ceremony? What kind of God art thou, that suffer more of mortal griefs than do thy worshippers? What are thy rents? What are thy comings in? Oh, ceremony! Show me but thy worth. What is the soul of adjuration? Art thou aught else but place, degree, and form, creating awe and fear in other men? Wherein thou art less happy being feared than they are in fearing? What drink thou oft instead of homage sweet, but poison flattery? Oh, be sick, great greatness, and bid thy ceremony give thee cure. Think'st thou the fiery fever will go out with titles blown from an adulation? Will it give place to flexure and low bending? Canst thou, when thou command'st the beggar's knee, command the health of it? No, thou proud dream, that plays so suitably with a king's repose. I am a king that find thee, and I know 'tis not the balm, the sceptre, and the ball, and the sword, the mace, the crown imperial, the enter-tissued robe of gold and pearl, the fast title running for the king, the throne he sits on, nor the tide of pomp that beats upon this high shore of this world. No, not all these thrice gorgeous ceremony, not all these laid in bed majestical, and sleep so soundly as the wretched slave who with a body filled and vacant mind gets him to rest, crammed with distressful bread, never sees horrid night, the child of hell, but like a lackey from the rise to set sweats in the eye of Phoebus, and all night sleeps in Elysium. Next day, after dawn, doth rise and help Hyperion to his horse, and follows so the ever-running year with profitable labour to his grave. And but for ceremony, such a wretch, winding up days with toil and nights with sleep, had the forehand vantage of a king. The slave, a member of the country's peace, enjoys it, but in gross brain little wots what watch the king keeps to maintain the peace, whose hours the peasant best advantages.
My lord, your nobles, jealous of your absence, seek through your camp to find you.
Good old knight. I'm all together at my tent. I'll be there before thee.
I will do it, my lord.
O God of battles, steel my soldiers' hearts, possess them not with fear. Take from them now the sense of reckoning with the opposed numbers. Pluck their hearts from them. Not today, O Lord. Oh, not today. Think not upon the fault my father made in encompassing the crown. I, Richard's body, have interred new, and on it have bestowed more contrite tears than from it issued forced drops of blood. 500 poor I have in yearly pay, who twice a day their withered hands hold up toward heaven to pardon blood. And I have built two chauntries where the sad and solemn priests sing still for Richard's soul. More will I do, though all that I can do is nothing worth, since that my penitence comes after all imploring pardon.
My liege.
My brother Gloucester's voice. I know thy errand, I will go with thee. The day, my friend, and all things stay for me.
And off he goes to catch his breath a little. Well done, Alec and everybody else. That was a bloody good chunk of play. Wow. So many things to think about. So this is interval 2. I am here again being your program article to entertain a few minutes while the actors get a cup of tea and a glass of water and gather themselves. And you yourselves can go make yourselves more comfortable in any way that you so choose. I'm just going to chat for a while about a few things that have been coming. I've been sitting here because I follow the script, but I also make notes as we go through thinking, oh, that was interesting. That was interesting. Oh, I could talk about that. I got so many notes from this part that I'm now a bit spoiled for choice. Those of you who've watched us before may have recognized we had quite a repeated cue game earlier. Those of you who haven't watched us before, this is something that only turns up if you work in the way that we do, from cues and from cue parts, because all the actors have seen is 2 or 3 words as their cue. They never know how many times those words are spoken, and they never know how long the gap is between one cue and the next cue. So for one thing, we've got a lot of people spending a lot of time listening to a lot of very unexpectedly long speeches in this particular play, which has actually been quite fun to watch. Because everybody some people get nervous. They feel like they must have missed their cue. And it's like, no, there is more speech. Just keep listening. But the other thing that happens is that we get this phenomenon of repeated cueing. And it only happens occasionally. Some characters do it. Some characters do it more than others. There are some characters that never do it. There are a few very sort of learned articles written on this phenomenon, which they have been very enlightening to read, because when I first started doing this work, I thought when it happened, it was a mistake, that people were coming in early or coming in at the wrong moment. And then after a while, you realize, no, this is deliberate. And if cues were indeed the length that we believe they were, which is approximately somewhere around 4 syllables long, then I can't remember what it was, but Morris has been, I think it was ill done, was his repeated cue to Llewellyn. So, and I think he said it at least 6 times in one line. So poor old Llewellyn is there desperately trying to come in with his line and constantly getting talked over. So you've got the Irishman, the Welshman, sort of literally, as it were, at loggerheads, but set up entirely by our friend William Shakespeare, who uses this technique to set people at loggerheads. We had another little battle earlier between Exeter and the Dauphin in the scene where Exeter comes to give the message of defiance to the French king. And because they both spoke twice at the same time. And it was interesting to see who gave way, because the Dauphin gave way and thus lost a couple of lines. So that's a little interesting. I mean, that's just one of those momentary things which each time this happens, it's down to the actors in the moment to decide whether their character would persist and determinedly get their line out, or whether in fact they may lose and not manage to say all their text. It's one of the things that can be very disconcerting to people that are new to this technique, is you don't necessarily get to say all your lines, and not necessarily if somebody else makes a mistake, but just because of the way the text works. And equally, you may get to say some of your lines more than once, because the text will trick you. What we do find is whatever happens in these moments, somehow or other, we always end up back on the right track. Sometimes I, as the book holder, have to give a quick sort of warning in the text to go, right, we've jumped a bit, so skip forward to this cue, just to make sure everybody keeps up. But it can be, it's fascinating to me, because it's one of the few things that makes this way of working completely unique. Because if you do not work this way, if you're working from a script in the way which is so much more expected and traditional currently in theatre, which is basically, we know what everybody's going to say and we simply wait for them to finish and try and look impatient. Whereas what's actually happening sometimes is that people are trying to come in, they're trying to interrupt. And some people absolutely love it. Some people find it really disconcerting, so they can't actually deal with, don't want to play the game. But that's fine. that's people. I mean, that's just how it works out. Repeated cues, repeatedly fascinating. I don't think I'll ever stop being fascinated by them. Although I will stop talking about them. I want to just, while I'm here, I want to extend a message of extra gratitude to Siegfried, who's been doing French accent coaching as a little specialty for this particular performance. So thank you very much, Siegfried. We had one scene all in French, which was so enjoyable. It's a wonderful scene, but it's just so much fun.
It was so much fun to coach. It was absolutely brilliant.
Well, it
Had a
was very
blast.
well done, and thank you for doing the coaching, and keep on the chorusing as well. So that's a nice little thing that we've been doing. What else has been going on? Right, before passing on, I was going to say something about the politics of Ireland and the character of the McMorrish, but I'll save that for another day. Just some dates for your diary. So we will, in fact, not be doing scenes in 2 weeks' time on June the 20th. Because as Father's Day, everybody is giving attention to their families, quite rightly so. We will, however, be offering you something else in the way of a little filmed offering, which is a little something new we're just going to try out. So we won't be back with you in person in 2 weeks' time, for which I apologize. However, there will be something new for you to enjoy. So look out for that. And we will be back in 4 weeks' time, which will be the 4th of July. Hey, Independence Day. And we're going to take a little break from the histories, partly because the history plays themselves sort of take a little breath between Henry V and Henry VI, but also partly to give ourselves a little break, because as much fun as these plays are, the idea of doing a comedy next is actually kind of a nice sort of breather for us. But come August, we will be back into Henry VI parts 1, 2, and 3, rolling on from there into Richard III, which will be the first play we'll have done for the second time, although with a brand new company. And we're going to go on from that into Henry VIII, just because why not? Because it's the history, so let's keep going. So please stick with us for the rest of this year. We're not going anywhere. But that's what we're going to do. So Much Ado About Nothing will be our next play on the 4th of July, which will be our next live performance. So please join us for that. Okay, so it's about time we got to the Battle of Agincourt. There's been an awful lot of build-up. So I think it's time that we take ourselves into some combat. So we're going to go into a scene with the French, who are making themselves ready. We saw them go and get themselves ready and have their little argument about their horses and their armor. Well, now they should be ready for combat. And of course, little bit of history, the French were the ones who were good at horseback-based battle. So we have the knights on horseback, and the English on the whole are not doing this. So Agincourt is the battle between cavalry on one side, on the horses, and rather famously the archers of England on the other side. So let's see how it goes. Can I please just check, if you pop your microphones off, in the next scene we begin with the Dauphin, Orleans, Ramburs, and Beaumont. Are we ready?
Ready?
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So have a good final half. Let's have a nice clean battle. Off to a spot of Agincourt, and I will see you all at the end. Have fun.
The sun doth gild our armour up, my lords.
Montecheval, my horse, velo laquais. Ha!
O brave spirit!
Violet oete.
We appuile ithel.
Sia cousin Orleans. Now, my Lord Constable.
Up, our steeds for present service neigh.
Mount them and make incision in their hides, that their hot blood may spin in English eyes and doubt them with superfluous courage. Ha!
What? Will you have them weep our horses' blood? How shall we then behold their nature's tears?
To horse, you gallant princes, straight to horse. Do but behold yond poor unstarved band, and your fair show shall suck away their souls, leaving but the shales and husks of men. There is not work enough for all our hands, scarce blood enough in all their sickly veins, to give each naked curtle-axe a stain that our French gallants shall today draw out, and sheathe for lack of sport. Let us but blow on them. The vapour of our valour will o'erturn them. 'Tis positive against all exceptions, lords, that our superfluous lackeys and our peasants, who in unnecessary actions swarm about our squares of bataille, were enough to purge this field of such a hilding foe, although we upon this mountain's basis by took stand for idle speculation, but that our honours must not. What's to say? A very little let us do, and all is done. Then let the trumpet sound the tucket sonance and the note to mount, for our approach shall so much dare the field that England shall couch down and yield.
Why do you stay so long, my lords of France? Yond island carrion, desperate of their bones, ill-favouredly become the morning's field. Their ragged curtains poorly are let loose, and our air shakes them passing scornfully. Big Mars seems bankrupt in their beggared host, and faintly through a rusty beaver peeps the horsemen sit like fixed candlesticks, with torch staves in their hands. Their jades hang down their heads and lob down their necks, with dropping the tides and hips, the gum down roping from their pale dead eyes, and in their pale dull mouths the Jumohul bit lies foul with chewed grass, still and motionless, and their executors, the knavish crows, fly o'er them all, impatient for their hour. Description cannot suit itself in words to demonstrate the life of such a battalion in life, so lifeless as it shows itself.
They have said their prayers, and they stay for death.
Shall we go send them dinners and fresh suits and give their fasting horses provender and after fight with them?
I stay but for my guard. On to the field! I will a banner from a trumpet take, and use it for my haste. Come, come, away! The sun is high, and we outwear the day.
Where is the king?
The king himself is rode to view their battle.
Of fighting men, they have full 300,000.
There's 5 to 1. Besides, they are all fresh.
God's arms strike with us, 'tis a fearful odds. God buy you, princes all. I'll to my charge. If we no more meet till we meet in heaven, then joyfully, my noble Lord of Bedford, my dear Lord Gloucester, and my good Lord Exeter, and my kind kinsmen, warriors all, adieu.
Farewell, good Salisbury, and good luck to thee. And yet I do thee wrong to mind thee of it, for thou art framed of the firm truth of valour.
Farewell, kind lord. Fight valiantly today.
He is as full of valour as of kindness, princely in both.
Oh, that we now
had 10,000 of those men in England that do no work today.
He that wishes so. My cousin Westmoreland, no, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enow to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honour. God's will, I pray thee wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my coat. It burns me not if my men my garments wear, such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to convert honour, I am the most offending soul alive. No faith, my coz, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I would not lose so great an honour, as one man more methinks would share from me, for the best I have. Oh, do not wish me one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company, that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and come home safe will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbours and say, tomorrow is Saint Crispian. Then will he strike up his sleeve and show his scars. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did this day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry, King, Exeter, Warwick, Talbot, Salisbury, and Gloucester, be in their flowering caps, freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he near so vile that this day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst he speaks, that fought with us upon Saint Crispian's day.
My sovereign lord, bestow yourself with speed. The French are bravely in their battles set, and with all expedients charge on us.
All things are ready, if our minds be so.
Perish the man whose mind is backward now.
Thou dost not wish more help from England, coz?
God's will, my liege. Would you and I alone, without more help, could fight this royal battle?
Why, now thou hast wished 5,000 men, which likes me better than to wish us one. You know your places. God be with you all.
Once more I come to know of thee, King Harry. If for thy ransom that will not now compound, before thy most assured overthrow, for certainly thou art so near the gulf, thou needst must be ungluted. Besides, in mercy, the constable desire thee, thou wilt mind thy followers of repentance, and that their souls may make a peaceful and a sweet retire from of these fields where wretches, they poor bodies, must lie and fester.
Who hath sent thee now?
The constable of France.
I pray thee, bear my former answer back. Bid them achieve me, and then sell my bones. Good God, why should they mock poor fellows thus? The man that once did sell the lion's skin while the beast lived was killed with hunting him. And many of our bodies shall no doubt find native graves, upon the which I trust I shall witness live in brass of this day's work. And those that leave their valiant bones in France, dying like men, though buried in your dunghills, they shall be famed. For there the sun shall greet them and draw their honours reeking up to heaven, leaving their earthly parts to choke on your claim, the smell whereof shall breed a plague in France. Mark than abounding valor in our English. That being dead, like to the bullets crashing, break out into a second course of mischief, killing in relapse of mortality. Let me speak it proudly. Tell the constable, we are but warriors for the working day. Our gayness and our guilt are all besmirched with rain marching in the painful field. There's not a piece of feather in our host. Good argument, I hope we will not fly, and time hath worn us into slovenry. But by the mass, our hearts are in the trim, and my poor soldiers tell me, yet ere night, they'll be in fresher robes, or they will pluck the gay new coats o'er the French soldiers' heads and turn them out of service. If they do this, as if God please, they shall. My ransom then will soon be levied. Herald, save thou thy labour. Come thou, no more for ransom, gentle herald. They shall have none. I swear that these my joints, which if they have, as I will leave on them, shall lead them into battle, tell the constable.
I shall, King Harry, and so fare thee well. Thou never shalt hear herald any more.
I fear thou wilt once more come again for a ransom.
My lord, most humbly, on my knees, I beg the leading of the Vayrod.
Take it, brave York. Now, soldiers, march away, and how thou pleasest God, dispose the day.
Yield, cur.
Je pense que vous êtes le gentilhomme de bonne qualité. Hein? Hein?
Quality call me a custori me. Art thou a gentleman? What is thy name? Discuss.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu.
Signor Dieu should be a gentleman. But pen my words, O Signor Jew, and mark, O Signor Jew, thou diest on point of fox, except, O Signor, thou dost give me egregious ransom.
Miséricorde, ayez pitié de moi.
Moi shall not serve. I will have 40 mois, for I will fetch thy rim out at thy throat in drips of crimson blood.
C'est impossible d'échapper à la force de ton bras.
Brass, cur, thou damned and luxurious mountain goat offerest me brass.
Pardonnez-moi, pardonnez.
Say'st thou me so? Is that a ton of moids? Come hither, boy. Ask me this slave in French, what is his name?
Écoute, comment est-ce de vous appeler?
Monsieur le Fer.
Ah, Monsieur Le
He says
Fer.
his name is Mr. Fur.
Mr. Fur. Well, I'll fur him and furk him and ferret him. Discuss the same in French unto him.
I do not know the French for fur and ferret and furk.
Well, bid him prepare, for I will cut his throat.
Que dit-il, monsieur?
Il me commande de vous dire que vous vous prêtes, car que soldat easy est, d'épuiser toutes les heures de coupon votre gorge.
Are we, Cooper a gorgy permafoy peasant? Unless thou givest me crowns, brave crowns, or mangled shall thou be by this my sword.
Je vous supplie pour l'amour de Dieu, me pardonnez. Je suis gentilhomme de bonne maison. Garde ma vie. Je vous donnerai 200 écus. Hein?
What are his words?
He prays you to save his life. He is a gentleman of a good house, and for his ransom, he will give you 200 crowns.
Oh, well, tell him my fury shall abate, and either crowns will take.
Petit monsieur, que dit-il?
Homme qui est contre son jugement, du pardonner aucun prisonnier, n'a au moins pour les et que quand vous les apprenez, il est content et vous donner la liberté, les Français-moi.
Sur mes genoux, je vous donne 1000 remerciements. Je m'estime heureux que je vous en tombe entre les mains d'un chevalier. Je pense le plus brave, vaillant et très digne seigneur d'Angleterre.
Expound unto me, boy.
He gives you upon his knee 1,000 thanks, and he esteems himself happy that he has fallen into the hands of one, as he thinks, the most brave, valorous, and thrice worthy Signor of England.
Oh, as I suck blood, I will some mercy show. Follow me.
Savez-vous, le grand capitaine? I did never know so full a voice issue from so empty a heart. But saying is true, the empty vessel makes this greatest sound. Bardolph and Nym had 10 times more valour than this roaring devil in the old play, that every one may pay his nails with a wooden dagger, and they are both hanged. And so would this be if he durst steal anything adventurously. I must stay with the lackeys with the luggage of our camp. The French might have a good prey for us if he knew of it, for there is none to guard it but boys.
Oh, diable!
Oh, Seigneur, le jour est perdu, tout est perdu.
Mon Dieu, ma vie, all is confounded, all reproach and everlasting shame sits mocking in a boomsty.
Why, all our ranks
do not run away.
All our ranks are broke.
Oh, durable shame, let's stab ourselves. Be these wretches that we played at dice for?
Is this the king we sent to for his ransom?
Shame, and eternal shame, nothing but shame. Let us die in once more back again, and he that will not follow Bourbon now, let him go hence with his cap in hand, like a base pander hold the chamber door, while a base slave, no gentler than my dog, his fairest daughter, is contaminated.
Disorder that has spoiled us, friend us now. Let us on heaps go offer up our lives.
We are now yet living in the field to smother up the English to our throngs, if any order might be thought upon.
The devil take auto now. I'll to the throng. Life be too short, else shame will be too long.
What have we done? Thrice valiant countrymen. Lord's not done, yet keep the French the field.
The Duke of York commencing to your majesty.
Lives he, good uncle? Thrice within this hour I saw him down, thrice again, and fighting from helmet to the spur. All blood he was.
In which array, brave soldier, doth he lie, larding the plain, and by his bloody side, yoke fellow to his honour-owing wounds, the noble Earl of Suffolk also lies. Suffolk first died, and York all haggled over comes to him, where in gore he lay insteeped, and takes him by the beard, kisses the gashes that bloodily did yawn upon his face. He cries aloud, "Tarry, my cousin Suffolk, my soul shall thine keep company to heaven. Tarry, sweet soul, for mine, then fly abreast. as in this glorious and well-foughten field we kept together in our chivalry. Upon these words I came, and cheered him up. He smiled me in the face, wrought me in his hand, and with feeble gripe says, "Dear my lord, commend my service to my sovereign." So did he turn, and over Suffolk's neck he threw his wounded arm and kissed his lips, and so espoused to death, with blood he sealed a testament of noble ending love. The pretty and sweet manner of it forced those waters from me, which I would have stopped, but I had not so much of a man in me, and all my mother came into mine eyes, and gave me up to tears.
Blame you not for hearing this. I must perforce compound with mixed full eyes, or they will issue too. But hark, what new alarum is this same? The French have reinforced their scattered men. Then every soldier kill his prisoners. Give the word through.
Kill the boys and the luggage? 'Tis expressly against the law of arms. 'Tis an arrant piece of knavery, mark you now, as can be offered in your conscience now, is it not?
'Tis certain. There's not a boy left alive. And the cowardly rascals that ran from the battle have done this slaughter. Besides, they have burnt and carried away all that was in the king's tent, wherefore the king most worthily has caused every soldier to cut his prisoner's throat. Oh, 'tis a gallant king.
Aye, he was born at Monmouth, Captain Gower. What call you the town's name where Alexander the Big was born?
Alexander the Great.
Why, I pray you, sir, is not big great? The big or the great or the mighty or the huge or the magnanimous are all one reckonings, save the phrase is a little variations.
I think Alexander the Great was born in Macedon. His father was called Philip of Macedon, as I take it.
I think it is in Macedon where Alexander is born. I tell you, Captain, if you look in the maps of the world, I warrant you shall find in the comparisons between Macedon and Monmouth that the situations, look you, is both alike. There is a river in Macedon, and there is also a river at Monmouth. It is called Wye at Monmouth, but it is out of my brains what the name of the other river, but 'tis all one. 'Tis alike as my fingers is to my fingers, and but there is salmons in both. If you mark Alexander's life well, Harry of Monmouth's life is come after it indifferent well, for there is figures in all things. Alexander, God knows, and you know, in his rages and his furies and his wraths and his chollers and his moods and his displeasures and his indignations, and also being a little intoxicated in his brains, did in his ails and his angers, look you, kill his best friend, Clytus.
Our king is not like him in that. He never killed any of his friends.
Not well done, mark you now, to take the tails out of our mouth ere it is made and finished. I speak but in the figures and comparisons of it. As Alexander killed his friend Clytus, being in his ales and his cups, so also Harry Monmouth, being in his right wits and his good judgments, turned away the fat knight with the great belly doublet. He was full of jests and jipes and knaveries and mocks. I have forgot his name.
Sir John Falstaff.
Ah, that is he. I'll tell you, there is good men born at Monmouth.
Here comes His Majesty.
Hungry since I came to France until this instant. Take a trumpet, herald. Ride thou unto the horsemen on yond hill. If they will fight with us, bid them come down, or void the field, they do offend our sight. If they'll do neither, we will come to them, and make them scare away as swift as stones in force from the old Assyrian slings. Besides, We'll cut the throats of those we have, and not a man of them we shall taste our mercy. Go, and tell them so.
Here comes the herald of the French, my liege.
His eyes are humbler than they used to be.
Now, what means this herald? Knowest thou not that I have fined these bones of mine for ransom?
No, great,
Again for ransom?
no, great king. I come to thee for charitable license that we may wander o'er this bloody field to book our dead and then to bury them, to sort our nobles from our common men, for many of our princes all the while lie drowned and soaked in mercenary blood. So do our vulgar drench their peasant limbs in blood of princes and with wounded steeds, fetlock deep in gore and wild rage, yerk out of their arms heels, and at their dead masters, killing them twice. Give us leave, great king, to view the field in safety and dispose of their dead bodies.
I tell thee truly, herald, I know not if the day be ours or no, for yet are many of your horsemen peer and gallop o'er the field.
The day is yours.
Praise be to God, and not our strength for it. What is this castle called that stands hard by?
I call it Agincourt.
Then call we this the field of Agincourt, fought on the day of Crispianus.
Your grandfather, of famous memory, and please your majesty, and your great-uncle Edward, the Black Prince of Wales, as I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave battle here in France.
He did, Llewellyn.
Your majesty says very true. If your majesties is remembered of it, the Welshmen did good service in a garden where leeks did grow, wearing leeks in their Monmouth caps, which your majesty knows to this hour is an honourable badge of the service. And I do believe your majesty takes no scorn to wear the leek upon St. Davy's Day.
I wear it for a memorable honour, for I am a Welsh, you know, good countryman.
All the water in Wye cannot wash your majesty's Welsh blood out of your body, I can tell you that. God bless it and preserve it, as long as it pleases his grace and his majesty too.
Thanks, good, my countrymen.
By Jesu, I am your majesty's countryman. I care not who know it. I will confess it to all the world. I need not be ashamed of your majesty. Praised be God, so long as your majesty is an honest man.
God, keep me so. Our herald, go with him. Bring me just the notice of the numbers dead on both our parts. Call yonder fellow.
Soldier, you must come to the king.
Soldier, why wearest thou that glove in thy cap?
Please your majesty, 'tis the gage of one that I should fight withal, if he be alive.
An Englishman?
And please your majesty, a rascal swaggered with me last night, who, if alive and ever dare to challenge this glove, I have sworn to take him a box of the ear, or if I can see my glove in his cap, which he swore as he was a soldier he would wear, if alive, I will strike it soundly.
What think you, Captain Llewellyn? Is it fit this soldier keep his oath?
He is a craven and a villain else, and please your majesty and my conscience.
It may be his enemy is a gentleman of a great quite sort from the answer of his degree.
Though he be as good a gentleman as the devil is, as Lucifer and Beelzebub himself, it is necessary, look your grace, that he keep his vow and his oath. If he be perjured, see you now, his reputation is as arrant a villain and a jack sauce as ever his black shoe trod upon God's ground, and his earth, in my conscience, law.
Then keep thy vow, sirrah, when thou meet'st the fellow.
So I will, my liege, as I live.
Gower is a good captain, and his good knowledge and literature in the wars.
Call him hither to me, soldier.
I will, my liege.
Here. Llewellyn, wear this thou favour for me. Wear this thou favour for me, and stick it in thy cap. Where Alan's son and myself were down together, I plucked this glove from his helm. If any man challenge this, he is a friend to Alan's son, and an enemy to our person. If thou encounter any such, apprehend him, and thou dost love me.
Your grace does me as great honours as can be desired in the hearts of his subjects. I would fain see the man that has but 2 legs that shall find himself aggrieved at this glove, that is all. But I would fain see it once, and please God of his grace that I might see.
Knowest thou Gower?
He is my dear friend, and please you.
Prithee, go seek him, and bring him to my tent.
I will fetch him.
My lord of Warwick and my brother Gloucester, follow Llewellyn closely at the heels. The glove which I have given him for a favour may haply purchase him a box the ear. It is the soldiers. I by bargain should wear it myself. Follow, good cousin Warwick. If that soldier strike him, as I judge, by his blunt bearing, he will keep his word. Some sudden mischief may arise of it. For I do know Llewellyn valiant and touched with choler, hot as gunpowder, and quickly will return an injury. Follow, and see thee there be no harm between them. Go you with me, uncle of Exeter.
I warrant it is tonight you, Captain. Sir?
God's will and his pleasure, Captain. I beseech you now, come apace to the king. There is more good toward you, peradventure, than is in your knowledge to dream of.
Sir, know you this glove?
Know the glove? I know the glove is a glove.
I know this, and thus I challenge it.
It's blood! An arrant traitor as any's in the universal world, or in France, or in England.
How now, sir, you villain?
Do you think I'll be forsworn?
Oh, stand away, Captain Gower. I will give treason his payment unto blows, I warrant you.
I am no traitor.
That's a lie in thy throat. I charge you in the name of his majesty's name, apprehend him. He's a friend of the Duke Alanson's.
My liege, this was my glove. Yeah.
How now? What's the matter?
My lord of Warwick, here is, praised be God for it, a most contagious treason come to light. Look you, as you shall desire in a summer's day. Here is his majesty.
Oh, what's the matter?
My liege, here is a villain and a traitor that, look your grace, has struck the glove which your majesty has taken out of the helmet of Alanson.
My liege, this was my glove. Here is the fellow of it, and he that I gave it to in charge promised to wear it in his cap. I promised to strike him if he did, if I met this man with my glove in his cap, and I have been as good as my word.
Your majesty, here now, saving your majesty's manhood, what an arrant, rascally, beggarly, lousy knave it is. I hope your majesty is bear me testimony and witness, and will avouchment that this is the glove of Alanson, that your majesty has give me in your conscience now.
Give me thy glove, soldier. Look, here is the fellow of it. 'Twas I indeed that promised to strike, and thou hast given me the most bitter terms.
And please your majesty, let his neck answer for it. For if there is any martial law in the world.
How canst thou make me satisfaction?
All offences, my lord, come from the heart. Never came any from mine that might offend your majesty.
It was yourself thou didst abuse.
Your majesty came not like yourself. You appeared to me but as a common man. Witness the night, your garment, your lowliness, and all what your highness suffered under that shape. I beseech you to take for your own fault and not mine, for had you been as I took you for, I made no offence. Therefore I beseech your highness pardon me.
Uncle Exeter, fill this glove with crowns and give it him to this fellow. Keep it, fellow, and wear it for an honour in thy cap, till I do challenge it. Give him the crowns, and captain, you must needs be friends with him.
By this day and this light, the fellow has metal enough in his belly. Hold. There is 12 pence for you, and I pray you serve God and keep you out of brawls and brabbles and quarrels and dissensions. I warrant you is the better for you.
I will none of your money.
No, it is with a good will. I can tell you it will serve you to mend your shoes. Wherefore you should you be so bashful, your shoes is not so good. Tis a good shilling, I warrant you, or I will change it.
Now, Harold, are the dead numbered?
Here is the number of the slaughtered French.
What prisoners of good sort are taken, uncle?
Charles, Duke of Orleans, nephew to the king, John, Duke of Bourbon, and Lord Bushigold, of other lords and barons, knights and squires, full 1,500 besides common men.
Note doth tell me of 10,000 French that in the field lay slain, of princes in this number, and nobles bearing banners. There lie dead 126. Added to these of knights, squires, and gallant gentlemen, 8,400. Of the which 500 were but yesterday dubbed knights, so that in these 10,000 they have lost, there are but 1,600 mercenaries. The rest are princes, barons, lords, knights, squires, and gentlemen of blood and quality. The names of their nobles that lie dead: Charles de Brach, High Constable of France; Jacques of Chalton, Admiral of France; the Master of the Crossbows, Lord Rambert, Great Master of France; the brave Sir Richard Dauphin; John, Duke of Alençon; Anthony, Duke of Brabant, the brother to the Duke of Burgundy; Edward, Duke of Bar, of lusty earls, Grand Prix and Rousey, Falconbridge and Foyes, Beaumont and Marle, Vanmont and Lestrade. Here was a royal fellowship of death. Where is the number of our English dead? Edward, Duke of York, the Earl of Suffolk, Sir Richard Ketley, Davy Gam, Esquire. None else of name. and of all other men but 25. Oh God, thy arm was here, and not to us, but to thy arm alone, ascribe we all, well, without stratagem, but in plain shock, and even play of battle, was ever known so great and little loss? On one part, and on the other, take it, God, for it is none but thine.
'Tis wonderful.
Come, go we in procession to the village, and be it death proclaimed through our host, the boast of this, or take the praise from God, which is his only.
Is it not lawful, and please your majesty, to tell how many is killed?
Yes, captain, but with this acknowledgement that God fought for us.
Yes, my conscience, he did us great good.
Do we all holy rites. Let there be sung non nobis and Te Deum, the dead with charity enclosed in clay. And then to Calais, and to England then, where ne'er from France arrived more happy men.
Well, no, that's right, but why wear you your leek today? St. Davy's day is past.
There is occasions and causes why and wherefore in all things. I will tell you as my friend, Captain Gower, the rascally, scald, beggarly, lousy, bragging knave, Pistol, which you and yourself and all the world know to be no better than a fellow, look, you know, of no merits, he has come to me and brings me bread and salt yesterday, look you, and bid me eat my leek. He was in a place where I could not breed no contention with him, but I will be so bold as to wear it in my cap till I see him once again. And then I will tell him a little piece of my desires.
Why, here he comes, swelling like a turkey cock.
'Tis no matter for his swellings, nor his turkey cocks. God please you, ancient Pistol, you scurvy, lousy knave. God bless you.
Ha! Art thou Bedlam? Dost thou thirst, base Trojan, to have me fold up Parker's faithful web? Hence, I'm qualmish at the smell of leek.
I beseech you heartily, scurvy, lousy knave, at my desires and my requests and my petitions to eat, look you, this leek, because, look you, you do not love it. No, your affections and your appetites and your digestions does not agree with it. I would desire you to eat it.
Not for Cadwallader and all his goats.
Oh, well, there is one goat for you. Will you be so good, Scald Knight, as eat it?
Best Trojan, thou shalt die.
You say very true, Scald Knight. When God will it, I will desire you to live in the meantime and eat your victuals. Come, there is sauce for it. You called me yesterday Mountain Squire, but I will make you today a squire of low degree. I pray you, fall to. If you can mock a leek, you can eat a leek.
Enough, Captain. You have astonished him.
I say I will make him eat some part of my leek, or I will beat his pate 4 days. I pray you, it is good for your green wound and your bloody coxcomb.
Oh, must I bite?
Yes, certainly, and out of doubt and out of question too, and ambiguities.
Oh, by this leek I will most horribly revenge. I eat. I eat. I swear.
Oh, eat, I pray you. Will you have some more sauce to your leek? There is not enough leek to swear by.
Yeah, quiet thy cudgel, thou dost see I eat.
Much good do you, scold knave, heartily. Now, pray you, throw none away. The skin is good for your broken coxcomb. When you take occasions to see leeks hereafter, I pray you mock at them. That is all.
Good.
Aye, leeks is good. Hold you. There is a groat to heal your pain.
Me? A groat?
Yes, verily, and in truth you shall take it. Or I have another leek in my pocket, which you shall eat.
Take thy groat in earnest of revenge.
If I owe you anything, I will pay you in cudgels. You shall be a woodmonger, and buy nothing of me but cudgels. God buy you, and keep you, and heal your pate.
All hell shall stir for this.
Go, you're a counterfeit, cowardly knave. Will you mock at an ancient tradition began upon an honourable respect and worn as a memorable trophy of predeceased valour, and dare not avouch in your deeds any of your words? I have seen you gleeking and galling at this gentleman twice or thrice. You thought, because he could not speak English in the native garb, he could not therefore handle an English cudgel. You find it otherwise. Henceforth, let a Welsh correction teach you a good English condition. Fare ye well.
Doeth fortune play the housewife with me now? News have I that my doll is dead of the spittle of a malady of France, and there my rendezvous is quite cut off. Old do I wax, and from my weary limbs honour is cudgelled. Well, bored I'll turn, and something lean to cut purse of quick hand. To England will I steal, and there I'll steal. And patches will I get into these cudgel scars, and swore I got them in the Gallia wars.
Vouchsafe to those that have not read the story, that I may prompt them, and of such as have, I humbly pray them to admit the excuse of time, of numbers, and due course of things which cannot, in their huge and proper life, be here presented. Now we bear the king towards Calais, grant him there, and there seen, heave him away upon winged swords athwart the sea. Behold, the English beach pales in the flood with men, wives, and boys, who shouts and claps outshot the deep-mouthed sea, which, like a mighty whiffler, for the king seems to prepare his way. So lend him land, and solemnly see him set on to London. So swift a pace I thought that even now you may imagine him upon Blackheath, where that his lord desire him to have borne his bruised helmet and his bended sword before him through the city. He forbids it. Being free from vainness and self-glorious pride, giving full trophy signal and ostend quite from himself to God. But now behold, in the quick forge and working house of thought, how does London pour out her citizens? The mayor and all his brethren in best sort, like to the senators of the antique Rome with the plebeians swarming at their heel, go forth and fetch their conquering suzerain. Like lower, but by loving likelihood, when the general of our gracious empress, as in good time he may, from Ireland coming, bringing rebellion broadshead on his sword. How many would this peaceful city quit to welcome him? Much more, and much more cause did this Harry. Now in London place him, as yet the lamentation of the French invite the kings of England stay at home. The emperor is coming on behalf of France to order peace between them and omit all occurrences, whatever chance, till Harry's back return again to France. There must we bring him. And myself have played the interim for remembering you his past. Then brook abridgment, for your eyes advance, after your thought, straight back again to France.
And to our brother France, and to our sister, health and fair time of day. Joy and good wishes to our most fair and princely cousin Catherine. And as a branch and member of this royalty, by whom this great assembly is contrived, we do salute you, Duke of Burgundy, and Princess French, and peers' health to all.
Right joyous we are to behold your face, most worthy brother England, fairly met. So are you princes English, every one?
So happy be these you, brother Ireland, of this good day, and of this gracious meeting, as we are now glad to behold your eyes, which hitherto have borne in them against the French that met them in their bent, the fatal balls of murdering basilisks. The venom of such looks we fairly hope have lost their quality, and that these days shall change all griefs and quarrels into love.
I am enter that, thus we appear.
You, English princes all, I do salute you.
My duty to you both on equal love.
On equal love, great kings of France and England. That I have labored with all my wits, my pens, and strong endeavors to bring your most imperial majesties unto this bar and royal interview. Your mightiness on both parts best can witness. Since then, my office hath so far prevailed that face to face and royal eye to eye you have congregated. Let it not disgrace me if I demand before this royal view what rub or what impediment there is, why that the naked, poor, and mangled peace, dear nurse of arts, plenties, and joyful births, should not, in this best guerdon of the world, our fertile France, put up a lovely visage. Alas, she hath from France too long been chased, and all her husbandry doth lie on heaps, corrupting in its own fertility. Her vine, the merry cheerer of the heart, unpruned, dies. Her hedges, even pleached, like prisoners wildly overgrown with hair, put forth disordered twigs. Her fallow leaves, the darnel, hemlock, and rank femetery doth root upon. With that, the culter rust that should deracerate such savagery, the even mead that erst sweetly forth the freckled cowslip burnet and green clover wanting the scythe, withal uncorrected rank, conceives by idleness, and nothing teems but hateful docks, rough thistles, keckeyes, burrs, losing both beauty and utility. And all our vineyards, fallows, meads, and hedges, defective in their natures, grow to wildness. Even so, our houses and ourselves, our children, have lost or do not learn for want of time the sciences that should become our country, but grow like savages, as soldiers will, that nothing do but meditate on blood, to swearing, stern looks, diffused attire, and everything that seems unnatural, which, to reduce into a form of favor, you are assembled, and my speech entreats that I may know the let why gentle peace should not expel these inconveniences and bless us with her former qualities.
Of Burgundy, you with the peace, whose want gives growth o'er the imperfections which you have cited. You must buy that peace with full accord to all our just demands, whose tenures and particular effects you have in schedule briefly in your hands.
The king hath heard them, to the which as yet there is no answer made.
Well then, the peace which you before so urged lies in his answer.
I have but with a cursory eye glance the articles. Pleaseth your grace to appoint some of your council presently to sit with us once more, with better heed to reservice then. I will suddenly pass our accept and peremptory answer.
Brother, we shall. Go, Uncle Exeter and Brother Clarence, and you, Brother Gloucester, Warwick and Huntington, go with the king, and take with you free power to ratify, augment, or alter as your wisdom's best shall see advantageable for our dignity. Anything in or out of our demands, and we'll consign thereto. Will you, fair sister, go with the princes, or stay here with us?
Our gracious brother, I will go with them. Haply a woman's voice may do some good when articles too nicely urged be stood on.
Yet leave our cousin Catherine here with us. She is our capital demand, comprised within the fore rank of our articles.
She hath good leave.
Fair Catherine, and most fair, will you vouchsafe to teach a soldier terms such as will enter at a lady's ear, and plead his love suit to her gentle heart?
Your Majesty shall mock at me. I cannot speak your England.
Oh, fair Catherine, if you would love me soundly with your French heart, I will be glad to hear you confess it brokenly with your English tongue. Do you like me, Kate?
Pardonnez-moi, I cannot tell what is like me.
An angel is like you, Kate, and you are like an angel.
Que dit-il? Que je suis semblable aux anges?
Oui, vraiment, sauf votre grâce. Ainsi dit-il.
I said so, dear Catherine. I must not blush to affirm it.
Oh, bon Dieu, les langues des hommes sont pleines de tromperies.
What says she, fair one? That the tongues of men are full of deceits?
Oui, that the tongues of the mouth is be full of deceits. That is the princess?
The princess is the better Englishwoman. Your faith, Kate, my wooing is fit for thy understanding. I'm glad thou canst speak no better English, for if thou couldst, thou wouldst find me such a plain king. Thou wouldst think I had sold my farm to buy my crown. I know no ways to mince it in love, but directly to say, I love you. Then, if you urge me further, then to say, do you in faith? I wear it on my suit. Give me your answer. Your faith do, and so clap hands and a bargain. How say you, lady?
Sauf votre honneur, me understand well.
Mary, if you would put me to verses or to dance for your sake, Kate, why, you undid me. For the one I have neither words nor measure, and for the other I have no strength in measure, yet a reasonable measure in strength. If I could win a lady at leapfrog, or by vaunting into my saddle, with my armour on my back under the correction of bragging, be it spoken, I should quickly leap into a wife. Or if I might buffet for my love, or bound my horse for her favours, I could lay on like a butcher, and sit like a jackanapes, never off. But before God, Kate, I cannot look greenly, nor grasp out my eloquence, nor I have no cunning in protestation, only downright oaths, which I never use to urge, nor never break for urging. If thou canst love a fellow of this temper, Kate, whose face is not worth sunburning, that never looks in his glass for love of anything he sees there, let thine eye be thy cook. I speak to thee, plain soldier. If thou canst love me for this, take me. If not, to say to thee that I shall die is true, but for thy love, by the Lord. No, yet I love thee too. And while thou livest, dear Kate, take a fellow of plain and uncoyed constancy, for he perforce must do thee right, because he hath not the gift to woo in other places. For these fellows of infinite tongue that can rhyme themselves into ladies' favours, they do always reason themselves out again. What? A speaker is but a prater, a rhyme is but a ballad, a good leg with a fall, a straight back will swoop, a black beard will turn white, curled pate will grow bald, a fair face will wither, a full eye will wax hollow, but a good heart, Kate, is sun and the moon, or rather the sun and not the moon, for it shines bright and never changes, but keeps its course truly. If thou would have such a one, take me, and take me, take a soldier, take a king. And what sayest thou then to my love? Speak, my fair, and fairly, I pray thee.
Is it possible that I should love the enemy of France?
No, it is not possible you should love the enemy of France, Kate, but in loving me, you should love the friend of France. I love France so well, and that I will not part with a village of it. I will have it all mine, and Kate, when France is mine, and I am yours, then yours is France, and you are mine.
I cannot tell what is that.
No, Kate, I will tell thee in French, which I am sure will hang upon my tongue, like a new married wife about her husband's neck, hardly to be shook off. Je crois sur les possessions de France, and crois veux avec les possessions de moi. You see then. What then? Can you speak my speech? Dans votre France and vous est bien? It is as easy for me, Kate, to conquer the kingdom as to speak so more French. I shall never move thee in French unless it be to laugh at me.
Sauf votre honneur, le français que vous parlez, il est meilleur que l'anglais que je parle.
No, face, not Kate. But thy speaking of my tongue, and I thine most truly, falsely must needs be granted to be much at one. But Kate, dost thou understand this much English? Canst thou love me?
I cannot tell.
Can any of your neighbours tell, Kate? I'll ask them. Come, I know thou lovest me, And at night, when you come into your closet, you'll question this gentlewoman about me. And I know, Kate, you will dispraise those parts in me that you love with your heart. But good Kate, mock me mercifully, the rather gentle princess, because I love thee cruelly. If thou ever be'st mine, Kate, as I have a saving faith within me tells me thou shalt, I get thee with scambling, and thou must therefore needs prove a good soldier breeder. Shall not thou and I between St. Denis and St. George compound a boy, half French, half English, that shall go to Constantinople and take the Turk by the beard? Shall we not? What sayst thou, my fair flower de law?
I do not know that.
No, 'tis hereafter to know, but now to promise. Do but now promise, Kate, you will endeavour your French part of such a boy for my English motif. Take the word of a king and a bachelor. How answer you? La plus belle cafran de mon trajet, Devindes?
Your Majesty, a false French enough to deceive the most sage demoiselle that is en France.
Now, fie upon my false French, but mine honour in true English. I love thee, Kate, by which honour I dare not swear thou lovest me, yet my blood begins to flatter me, that thou dost notwithstanding the poor and untempering effect of my visage. Now beshrew my father's ambition. He was thinking of civil wars when he got me, and therefore was I created with a stubborn outside, but with an aspect of iron, that when I come to wooed ladies, I fright them. But in faith, Kate, the elder I wax, the better I shall appear. My comfort is that old age, that I'll layer up of beauty, and can do no more spoil upon my face. Thou hast me, if thou hast me, at the worst, and thou shalt wear me, if thou wear me, better and better. And therefore tell me, most fair Catherine, will you have me? Put off your maiden blushes, avaunt the thoughts of your heart with the looks of an empress. Take me by the hand, and say, Harry of England, I am thine. Ireland is thine. Which take me and say, Harry of England, I am thine, which word shalt no sooner bless mine ear withal, but I will tell thee aloud, England is thine, Ireland is thine, France is thine, and Henry Plantagenet is thine, who, though I speak it before his face, if he be not fellow with the best king, thou shalt find the best king of good fellows. Come, your answer in broken music, for thy voice is music, and thy English broken. Therefore, queen of all, Catherine, break thy mind to me in broken English. Wilt thou have me?
That is as it shall please the roi mon père.
Nay, it will please him well, Kate. It shall please him, Kate.
Then it shall also content me.
Upon that, I kiss your hand, and I call you my queen.
Laissez-moi, Seigneur. Laissez, ma foi. Je ne veux point que vous abaissez votre grandeur impésamment, notre Seigneur. Indigne serviteur, excusez-moi, je vous supplie. Mon très puissant Seigneur.
And I will kiss your lips, Kate.
Mesdames et demoiselles, pour être baisées devant le noce. Il n'est pas de coutume de France.
Madam, my interpreter, what says she?
That it is not the fashion for the ladies of France. I cannot tell what Paisy is on English.
Kiss?
Your Majesty entend better que moi.
It is not a fashion for the maids in France to kiss before they're married, would she say?
Oui, vraiment.
Oh, Kate, nice customs to great kings. Dear Kate, you and I cannot be confined within the weak list of a country's fashion. We are the makers of manners, Kate, and the liberty that follows our places stops the mouth of all fine faults, as I will do yours for upholding the nice fashion of your country in denying me a kiss, therefore patiently and yielding. You have witchcraft in your lips. Kate, there is more eloquence in a sugar touch of them than in the tongues of the French council, and they should sooner persuade Harry of England than a general petition of monarchs. Here comes your father.
God save your majesty, my royal cousin teach you our princess English.
I would have her learn, my fair cousin, how perfectly I love her, and that is good English.
Is she not apt?
Our tongue is rough, coz, and my condition is not smooth, so having neither the voice nor the heart of flattery about me, I cannot so conjure up the spirit of love in her, but be that will appear in his true likeness.
Pardon the frankness of my mirth, if I answer you for that. If you would conjure in her, you must make a circle. If conjure up love in her in his true likeness, he must appear naked and blind. Can you blame her then, being a maid, yet rosed over with the virgin crimson, if modesty, if she deny the appearance of a naked blind boy and her naked seeing self? It were, my lord, a hard condition for a maid to consign to.
Yes, they do wink and yield, as love is blind and enforces.
They are then excused, my lord, when they see not what they do.
Then, good my lord, teach your cousin to consent winking.
I will wink on her to consent, my lord, if you'll teach her to know my meaning. For maids, well summered and warm kept, are like flies at Bartholomew tide, blind though they have eyes, and then they will endure handling, which before they would not abide looking on.
This mortal tires me over to time, and a hot summer, so I shall catch the fly, your cousin, in the latter end, and she must be blind too.
As love is, my lord, before it loves.
It is so, and you may, some of you, thank love for my blindness, who cannot see many a fair French city for one fair French maid that stands in my way.
Yes, my lord. You may see them prospectively. The cities turned into maid, and for they are all girdled with maiden walls that war hath entered.
Now, Kate, be my wife.
So please you?
And consent. So the maiden cities you talk of may wait on her. So the maid that stood in the way for my wish shall show me the way to my will.
We have consented to all your terms of reason.
It's so, my lords of England.
The king hath granted every article his daughter first, and in sequel, all according to their firm proposed natures.
Only he hath not yet subscribed this. Where your majesty demands that the king of France, having any occasion to write for matter of grant, shall name your highness in this form, and with this addition in French. Notre très cher fils Henri d'Angleterre, héritier de France. And thus in Latin, Preclarissimus filius noster Henricus Rex Angliae et Heres Franciae.
Nor this I have not, brother, so denied, but your request shall make me let it pass.
Pray you then, in love and dear alliance, let that one article rank with the rest, and thereupon give me your daughter.
Take her, fair son, and from her blood raise up issue in me, that the contending kingdoms of France and England, whose very shores look pale with envy of each other's happiness, may cause their hatred, and this dear conjunction plant neighbourhood and Christian-like accord in their sweet bosoms, that never war advance his bleeding sword twixt England and fair France.
Amen.
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 Now welcome, Kate, and bear me witness all, that here I kiss her as my sovereign queen.
Yeah. Oh.
God, the best maker of all marriages, combine your hearts in one, your realms in one, as man and wife being two are one in love. So be there twixt your kingdom such a spousal that never may ill office or fell jealousy, which troubles oft the bed of blessed marriage, thrust in between the passion of these kingdoms to make divorce of their incorporate league. That English may as French, French Englishmen, receive each other. God speak this. Amen.
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 Prepare we for our marriage, on which day my lord of Burgundy will take your oath, and all the peers, for surety of our leagues. Then shall I swear to Kate, and you to me, and may our oaths well kept and prosperous be.
Thus far, with rough and all unable pen, our bending author has pursued the story. In little room confining mighty men, mangling by start the full course of their glory. Small time, but in that small, most greatly lived this star of England. Fortune made a sword, by which the world best guerdon be achieved, and of it left his son, imperial lord. Henry the Sixth, in infant bands crowned king of France and England, did this king succeed. Whose states so many had the managing, that they lost France and made its England bleed, which oft our stage hath shown. And for their sake, in your fair mind, let this acceptance take.
Everybody, well done, well done, well done. That is the end of Henry. Oh well, Henry V. Right. All of you back on, please. You only get applauded by me and by each other, but I'm sure everybody else is applauding you too. Well done to all of you. That was fascinating. It was really interesting. I wish the rest of you could see the chat that was going on, because everybody was so enjoying the courtship, and then it all got very dark at the end. But what a wonderful play. Very, very well done to all of you. A superb job done by Alec. Well done, King Henry. You inspired us all through that. And to all of you so ably supporting, everybody had so much fun. At least I did. I hope everybody out there watching, everybody on screen did. Thank you so much for today. So we will be back in 4 weeks with a slight change of tone. We'll be doing Much Ado About Nothing. We will be back with Henry VI. I know the chorus just gave us a little spoiler, but hey, we'll tell you the story anyway. Okay, so everybody, for the next few weeks, please look after yourselves and each other. Everybody on screen, I say the same to you. Thank you all so much for today. We could not do this without your wonderfulness all together, all put together. So thank you so much. Thank you out there for watching. Farewell, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Dare we take us off the air? Thank you all. Goodbye.